This advice with students during the 50th anniversary launch of the University of Cape Coast School of Business. Mr. Setekbe indicated that leading with honesty and integrity aids in overcoming ethical challenges and encouraged the students to avoid narrowing their focus only on financial gains.
The launch of the 50th anniversary of the University of Cape Coast School of Business was established on the theme University of Cape Coast School of Business at 50, expanding the frontiers of business excellence. The guest speaker and presidential advisor on economy, Honorable Seth Tekpe, stressed on the importance of honesty and shared his hopes for the UCC School of Business.
If you are found in any serious ethical situation, let me advise you, my first advice, look to the motto of this university. The truth shall always be, your light. Let us, therefore, in conclusion, use this moment not only to celebrate, but also to dream bigger, work harder, and lead in a bolder way. So you see, our training may lead us into various things and prepare us. And I can assure you that if you can work with integrity, it's not just about money, right? As you went along, that is what will build, your integrity. That is what will build your foundation in any job. The next 50 years, let me repeat, must be shaped by a school of business that is globally engaged, digitally empowered, ethically grounded, and I emphasize ethics, and socially impactful. May the School of Business, University of Cape Coast, continue to soar from strength to strength and from vision to victory.
In his address, the provost of the College of Humanities and Legal Studies at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Kwame Boateng, encouraged the school to be ethical and uphold integrity.
As a university, as academics teaching business, as students learning business to become business practitioners, we are being advised and being forewarned that in all our activities, you should be ethical and you should exercise the highest form of integrity. Our bane as a country, the unemployment that politicians always talk about, the unemployed graduates that we have, it's all because people got opportunity to set up business and employ people, but the people never help them. They were never faithful. They were not men and women of integrity. They let the establishment down. And it is because of such things that we are where we are today.
From UCC, Abigail Lissel Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
There are growing calls for a tougher, more forceful crackdown on illegal mining in Ghana as resistance to the fight intensifies. The Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission is the latest to demand action, urging government to end what they call years of lip service to the Galamsey menace. This comes on the back of yet another brazen attack, this time on the Forestry Commission Rapid Response Team, adding to a worrying pattern of violence targeting officials on duty. We'll tell you more in this report.
Despite dozens of arrests in recent months, illegal mining, also known as Galamsey, continues to thrive across parts of Ghana. What's more alarming is the growing boldness of perpetrators, with some now attacking state officials tasked with protecting the country's forest and water bodies. That was the case in the Jimira Forest Reserve, where a patrol team from the Forestry Commission came under heavy gunfire from about 20 armed illegal miners during a routine operation.
About 20 illegal miners have laid siege in that area, and they asked them to stop. When they stopped, they started firing warning shots indiscriminately, and some of the bullets hit their vehicle, and fortunately for them, nobody was hurt, but their driver was serially hit with the butt of a machete many times, and he's the one who sustained a few injuries.
This wasn't an isolated incident. 2 months ago, a team member was slashed in the knee. Just weeks ago, the CEO of the Minerals Development Fund, Dr. Hannah Bisu, and her team also came under fire while leading an anti-Galamsey operation in the Ashanti region. These attacks are part of what the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission in Ghana says is a worrying trend made possible by government inaction. At their annual regional conference in Wa, Deputy Leader Alhaji Abdul Wahab said government after government has failed to take the fight seriously.
Every government in this country and every government has practically refused to stop Galamsey. I'm telling you on authority, it's a fact. All our governments ever since Galamsey started in Ghana have all refused to stop Galamsey.
While in the Ashanti region, police at Atatim have arrested 4 Chinese nationals caught mining illegally along the Subin and Jimmy rivers. 11 excavators were seized during the operation.
So far, they have arrested the 4 Chinese nationals. They've been identified and they are being processed for court. 11 excavators have been seized so far. They have also seized 4 pump action guns, brand new ones that were being used to protect that illegal mining activity.
And in Takwa, District Police Commander Superintendent Eric Akwabwa braved heavy rainfall to lead an operation against an illegal mining site near Wasa Agona. Though the miners fled, their equipment was destroyed on the spot.
It's ready. No fire can work. So he's following them. He's following the machine. Then come to this one. Come and break this one too. Come. That is what we can do under the circumstances. It's ready. We cannot bend the machines. So he's following them. He's following them. Yes. We are following everything. We have seen about 5 tamper machines here, and we are following all of them. Yes. Move to the other way.
The fight against illegal mining continues, but so does the resistance. Many are now calling for a tougher national strategy before the nation's forests and rivers vanish completely. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
No to Galamsey is still very active. In other news, the medical director of the Tamale Eye Hospital, Dr. Judith Simon, has disclosed that they're working to upgrade the hospital to a tertiary eye center that can address every kind of eye problem. Currently, people requiring specialized care often have to travel to Accra, which can be unaffordable for many. Speaking at the launch of the state-of-the-art Tamale Eye Hospital, Dr. Judith Simon emphasized the need for the upgrade, noting that the hospital aims to serve the 5 regions of the north and beyond.
Tamale Eye Clinic is the first of its kind in the northern sector of Ghana. The hospital operates as a social enterprise with profit generated being reinvested for further growth and development. Speaking at the unveiling, the medical director of the hospital, Dr. Judith Simon, said they want to move it to a first-class hospital in the country.
We are currently the second eye hospital in the whole country who has the highest surgical volume, and soon, hopefully, we will become the first. But let me assure you, we do not intend to sit on our laurels. The journey is far from over. Actually, it just started. Our vision is to create a comprehensive eye care network all over North Ghana in all the 5 regions. And we want to open multiple small vision centers where the patients who have simple problems can be treated over there. And those with complicated problems, they can come to us.
The Northern Regional Minister, Adolf John Ali, assured that government will create an enabling environment for the private sector to strive.
The government acknowledges the efforts of the private healthcare providers, such as the Tamale Eye Hospital, which are indispensable allies in our pursuit of universal health coverage. We therefore wish to assure you as a government that we will create an enabling environment to provide healthcare investment through supportive policies and regulations, opportunities for public-private partnership.
The Hungarian ambassador to Ghana, Thomas Fahad, whose government supported the construction of the facility, highlighted the significance of the collaboration, stating that it demonstrates what human solidarity can achieve.
This facility, built with the support of the Hungary Hubs program, represents more than just bricks and mortar. It is the embodiment of a shared belief that access to quality healthcare is not a privilege, but a fundamental right. With a generous donation, the government of Hungary has been proud to support the Right to Sight and Health Foundation in making this dream a reality. The new hospital, designed as a passive building with remarkably low maintenance costs, will serve thousands of patients annually from the northern region and beyond.
It's been 2 years since the Akosombo Dam spillage. Many of the victims in Notong have returned, not to rebuild homes, but to what's left of them. Pushed out of overcrowded makeshift shelters, they now live in weakened, flood-damaged structures, risking their lives with every rainfall. In our continuing feature series, After the Floods, Fred Kwame Asare travels to Awadiokome, one of the hardest hit communities, and reports.
Awadiokome is one of the hardest hit communities by the spillage of the Akosombo and Kpong dams. The once vibrant community is now a shadow of itself. Hundreds lost their homes and other belongings swept away by the flood waters. The entire community was evacuated to New Bakpa, temporary refuge meant to save lives. The chief of the area, Togbe Sakwiti, reflects on the overwhelming ordeal that his people continue to face.
My house here, I live here with my mom and my 2 siblings. We are 4 here. At the time of the flood, we were here more than 50 to 60 people, and it was something that is very, very terrible. But 1 year on, we are surviving, though life has been very, very difficult. But we are surviving.
Over 1 year on, many of these displaced families are returning, not because it is safe, but out of desperation. Starvation and unbearable conditions in the shelters have forced many residents, including this widow and the granddaughter, to return to homes that are barely standing, walls fractured and on the brink of collapse.
Minya alemiao tepemele miesi wa mo gbomi vaile o bi ni ba technology chona neta mi ugbo vale mi ogli gbagbaji akare na ga muje mieji hari mena ko miye se fare kemeli mi nonogo ita mi vale mi o ese cho mi oho wo do ita ne pe e ma fi o mi vale manage
agbe na dodo ne mi ifie nu yemi adu han ezo agba echichu agbali de sia de le poyeji mela marekasi.
The flood waters left gaping cracks in the structure, making it hazardous for anyone living inside. Yet this widow has resigned herself to the risk, saying she has no other option. Another family lost their entire 5-room house, leaving the occupants scattered. Evelyn now lives in what was once a kitchen. She has hastily converted it into a cramped bedroom. Many others whose homes were destroyed are now staying with relatives, barely scraping by in difficult circumstances. Their hopes for compensation and assistance are waning as they continue to wait for the government to take action for these victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage. Survival has become a day-to-day battle with their safety and well-being hanging a thread. Fed Kwame Asari, Joy News, Apadio Kumo.
A retired U.S. Army veteran who returned home to fight poverty through education has been named the overall winner at the 2025 Joy News Impact Makers Awards. Through his NGO, Fafali organization, Raymond Senyo Amazado supports over 4,000 children each year with after-school learning, STEM, sports and scholarships, boosting enrollment and producing Ghana's top female golfer. More in this report.
2025 Joy Impact Award, the overall winner is Mr. Raymond Senyo Amazado.
Shall we give him a standing ovation? Let's be on our feet, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a night of celebration, emotion, and inspiration, where stories of selflessness took center stage and ordinary individuals were honored for their extraordinary impact. The 2025 Joy News Impact Makers Awards lit up the night with shared hope for a better Ghana. Raymond Senyo Amejato emerged as the overall winner, drawing tears, applause, and admiration from an audience that had just witnessed the power of one man's commitment to community transformation.
It was good, sometimes we don't need a validation, but we need a platform to project our work. So it feels good to be awarded the best impact maker in Ghana. It's a huge success. Thank you.
Do you have any initiatives in the pipeline?
Yeah, actually, the Fafali girls team has been selected to represent Ghana and the whole of West Africa in the next upcoming Street Child World Cup in Mexico. That's next year. We'll be going there. Also, some of our community members will be going to the Festival 26 in Boston, America. And we have other projects coming up.
Can you name some of the projects coming up?
Well, if you come to in Volta region, we just opened a library in the Koviaji Electra area, and we are about to push our initiative out there. And the last time we were there, the Volta regional minister was there to help us launch the library. Now we want to take all the projects that we have in Accra, we want to take it to the Volta region so that we can also push our impact there. But if you want to help Fafali, which is much needed, you can go to our website at fafaliorganization.org. We are on social media. I myself am on LinkedIn, Raymond Senyo Amazado.
The 2025 edition of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards proved it isn't just a ceremony, but a platform of national recognition for people who often work in silence. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Na Momolate, who was the special guest, lauded the Multimedia Group company for putting the spotlight on individuals who represent the best of humanity. She said such platforms will continue to inspire countless others to make a difference.
Let me use the opportunity to congratulate all the recipients of tonight's award, especially the overall winner. I just am overjoyed. I just want to say thank you for the remarkable work that you are doing in all the areas across Ghana. There are some of you who are yet to be recognized, but this great initiative by Multimedia gives you the opportunity to keep going. And like we heard from most of the recipients, it is not just about being recognized and hyped, but it is about the passion and the heart with which they have done the work over the years. And by the grace of God, they get recognized.
General Manager of Joy News, Fifi Kumsen, was thrilled by the extraordinary impact made by this year's finalists.
This year, the stories are no less inspiring. We are recognizing impact in women's financial empowerment, inclusive education, hybrid learning, innovations, environmental awareness, and more. These are individuals doing extraordinary things with minimal resources but maximum heart.
From community health advocates to education champions, this year's 10 impact makers each told a story that stirred the soul and reignited belief in grassroots change.
When you hear that sound, you know it's that time of the year again, when brilliance takes center stage and academic giants are put to the test. The countdown to academic glory begins this week as the 2025 National Science and Maths Quiz kicks off its regional qualifiers today, June the 30th, with over 250 schools from across the country vying for qualifications to be the national champion. There's more in this report.
My last 2 digits is also a square. Yes, Isaac.
164.
Yes.
Over 250 schools across the country will begin their race for glory as the 2025 National Science and Maths Quiz kicks off its regional championship stage on Monday, June 30th. Schools from both the northern and southern belts will battle for a coveted place in the national championship, with this week's contests beginning in Sunyani and Takrade, where the stage is set for the first round of contests. The Ashanti region leads this year's qualifiers with the highest number of contests nationwide, 22 in total, scheduled from July 21 to 26. The competition promises 5 weeks of intense academic rivalries, scientific brilliance, and the making of new quiz legends.
Darius.
Implication.
You are right.
You want to stay with Joy News because we'll bring you all the latest details on the National Science and Maths Quiz. And that takes us to Samuel Kojo Brace, bringing us business update now.
Well, let's do business update now. And the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, has reaffirmed the government's strong commitment to building an investor-driven economy. Addressing the 2025 Ghana-China Business Summit in Accra, he emphasized the need for strategic collaboration between businesses to drive sustainable growth and development.
Here, I learned from one of the exhibitors that already some of the Chinese participants has been there to take their details, because I think they are into cocoa products and honey and things like that, considering the possibility of importing this product from Ghana. That makes it a win-win situation for both countries. Ghana will benefit from this. China will also benefit from this. We shouldn't make this a talk shop. We should try and move and progress so that a year from now we can have concrete things to show that this has been a successful story and worth visiting Ghana.
Well, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, is advocating for tax relief measures to support small businesses in Ghana. This call was made by the UNDP Deputy Resident Representative to Ghana, Shaima Hussein, during the United Nations Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises Day celebration. She emphasized the need for a more enabling tax environment to help SMEs thrive and contribute effectively to national development.
The market is growing and the government has put some bold steps to support MSMEs, and they are tackling this support from different angles. We speak today about digital gateways that we're launching with the government. It aims to be a one-stop shop to facilitate registration and also exchange of information. So there is one element that the government is taking step to resolve. Access to finance. There are also some bold steps from Stanbic, from also mobile money carriers, but there is always such kind of access to finance available, but not enough. So we need more commercial banks to come to the forefront. We need more development funds to come forefront to support MSMEs. And these are the areas that will help them access credit and grow their businesses and improve in their revenues. Similar story with the taxation, where we want to see some tax relief, some incentives for MSMEs that will help them also to grow. And the government is taking here really bold steps, and they are reviewing these things. So we hope with these kind of policies that are still in the processing, in the making, they will help MSMEs to grow and expand.
That does it for the business update on the AM News. There's more on myjoyonline.com/business. Sports is coming up next year on the AM show. Remember, the show is sponsored by Whaley Properties, and we say we provide you affordable properties and with some payment schedule. So come to us to own your dream house. So stay tuned for Muftau Nabila as he comes your way with AM Sports.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. This year's Joy Sports Invitational Tournament has been scheduled for August 9, 2025 at the University of Ghana Stadium. The annual corporate sports competition put together by Joy Sports will return to the University of Ghana Stadium where it happened last year. Last year, there were about 34 companies that signed up to participate in the event, and this year, it is expected to even be bigger as many organizations continue to demand how they can sign up to be a part of this year's Invitational Tournament. So companies that are interested in signing up for this year's Joy Sports Invitational Tournament can either contact Joy FM front desk and pick up a form, or also contact the events team, Slevin, on 054-010-6466. 054-010-6466, either via WhatsApp or a direct phone call for registration. And you can also download the form on my joyonline.com. The 2025 edition will begin with an energy early morning session, which is going to be aerobic session. And it is expected to provide a perfect opportunity for participants to warm up and set the tone for the day's activities, encouraging physical readiness and team spirit among all organizations. Throughout the event or throughout the day, participating companies will compete in a variety of events carefully designed to promote endurance, teamwork, and corporate pride. The CEO's penalty shootout will return as key attraction following Divine Tate's remarkable win last year. And then last year, the football tournament produced a thrilling climax as Cosa Bright Company Limited, they clinched their trophy after defeating Yomi Yogurt in the final. And also, we also have the unisex relay for both men and women. So we'll have men and women mix up for, let's say, the 100 meters, the 4x1, the lineman spoon, the tug of peace. There's also going to be arm wrestling, many other events. These are some of the scenes from last year's CEO's penalty shootout. And this was the track and field event where I proudly beat Evans in that event. So if you want to sign up, head on to myjoyonline.com, download the form there, or contact Level on 054-010-6466, or come to the front desk of Joy FM and pick up a form, sign up for the competition, which is going to be happening on August 9 at the University of Ghana Stadium. To some national football team news, and the Black Queens, they played their final preparatory match ahead of this year's African Women's Cup of Nations that will be happening in Morocco this weekend. The team suffered a 3-1 loss at the hands of the Super Falcons in Morocco. Teams have already arrived in Morocco and started preparations for it. The Black Queens, they played 3 friendly matches, winning their first 2 and suffering a 3-1 loss against the Super Eagles ahead of that tournament happening on Saturday. The Black Queens are in a group with defending champions, South Africa. Now let's hear from the Minister of Sports and Recreation, Kofi Adams. He has sent a goodwill message to the Black Queens ahead of the commencement of the tournament this weekend.
On behalf of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama and the good people of Ghana, I extend our heartfelt wishes to the Black Queens as they prepare for the Women's African Cup of Nations in Morocco, scheduled from July 5th to July 26th. As the Minister for Sports and Recreation, I want to affirm that the entire nation is firmly with you, and we trust in your ability to represent Ghana with distinction and excellence. This isn't just a tournament. It is a celebration of talent, passion, power, and at the forefront are our black queens, fierce, fearless, and ready to conquer. Please go for Ghana. Do it for Ghana. We are capable of conquering Africa and beyond. Thank you.
Ghana's Black Queens are yet to win the competition despite being one of the African countries to have participated in the competition or tournament more than any other country. They've been to the final 3 times and they've not been able to lay their hands on it. Only 3 countries have been able to win it. Nigeria, they've won it 9 times. Equatorial Guinea have won it twice, and South Africa won it once. And South Africa, they won it, the 2022 edition, which took place in Morocco after defeating Morocco in the final of the tournament. Now, let's do some transfer news. And Ghana International, Christopher Barbon, so he is moving to Saudi Arabia. My colleague Lawrence Beatty caught up with him at the airport before his flight, and he said that the decision to move to Saudi Arabia is about a project that has been placed before him by Al-Qasiyah and not because of money.
I think I can say I've heard a lot of talks going on between my current club and the Saudi club, and yeah, they showed me the project they have for me, and I'm happy with it. But for now, I'm going back and I'll meet with my team and we'll see what we do. But for now, I think there are still talks going on.
I mean, after the performance with the Black Stars, people were looking forward to you continuing in Europe. You're still young though, but how do you feel the Saudi, if you had to move to Saudi, will help you grow?
Yeah, I think it's just not about Saudi. I think there are a lot of big players over there. I think we have Cristiano Ronaldo and the rest over there. It's a competitive league. It's not like just Saudi, as people know, but I think for that, they have a lot of players where you can develop, I think, and the team is also a good team, and I think they have a lot of quality players there. But for me, let's say me moving to Saudi, it's not about the money or it's not about anything. It's just about me, I think, progressing in my football and yeah.
Talk about the environment. If you are indeed to move to Saudi, you have the luxury of playing with Jerry Ifriye. Are you looking forward to play with him?
Yeah, I think if everything goes well, I think I'll be happy to play with him because he's my friend and I know we know each other. So playing along him will be very nice, and I'll be very happy to.
You could move to Saudi from what we are hearing, but is there also the edge to come back to Europe if everything happens? Is there the edge for you to come back to Europe in some years' time? Yeah,
of course. I think I'm still young. If I'm doing well over there, I think I'm giving everything to the club or everything out, and they are interested in Europe. I think we'll see what we do.
Well, so the news belt is over. Time for us to get into the conversations, starting with the news review segment. Welcome aboard. The EM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, and here's a question for you. Are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Then Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credits in Accra. Invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at affordable costs with flexible payment options. At Waylead Properties, we provide you 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Give us a call now on these numbers, 0240-111-119 or 0504 499-999. You can also visit our website at www.waylead.org for more information. And that brings us to our guest this morning. We have Victoria Bright. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur. She joins us via Zoom this morning. And in the course of the conversation, when our other guests join us, we will introduce them to you. But good morning, Vicky. Let's be sure that we can hear you loud and clear.
Your viewers. I can't hear you now. I don't know if you can still hear me.
So, Vicky, I don't know if you can hear us now.
Oh, yes, now I can, yes. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to have you this morning. Now, let's start with, as we do, give you the, at most 2 minutes, for you to tell us what you really want to talk about before we get into the papers.
Yeah, I mean, I think we will be talking about these shootings, I'm sure, but this Jamia forest attacks as well over the weekend are very disturbing. You know, it looks like these Galamsey guys are determined to destroy our forest reserves and our very existence. I don't know whether they don't understand that this is an existential threat to Ghana, or whether they do understand, but they just don't care because of greed and selfishness. So I'm very concerned when I hear that machetes and other weapons are being used to attack security forces who are trying to just do their jobs and enforce the law. It's as if they are almost challenging the security forces. You know, they have set up their own little armies there or what have you, and they are determined to stay there. And I think the government has to continue what it's doing, and I commend the minister for really tackling this problem head on. The government has to keep going at it and to make them understand that this is a country of the rule of law, and that this kind of behavior, it will no longer be tolerated. Their reign of terror surely must be over. So that is what is weighing, or one of the things weighing heavily on my mind this morning.
Now, related to that story is a story on the page 3 of the Ghanaian Times. It says, small-scale miners call on president to probe illegal task force. And the story is that small-scale miners in Ghana have made a passionate and urgent call on President John Mahama to institute a probe into the operations of an illegal anti-Galamsey task force. Now, this task force, formed by some self-centered individuals claiming to be powerful, has been undermining the government's effort to tackle illegal mining and threatening the activities of licensed small-scale miners. Now, a report from the Western region indicated that the illegal task force clashed with the government's National Anti-Galamsey Task Force, a situation that nearly caused a major disturbance. However, through the intervention of the Sector Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, the National Anti-Galamsey Task Force was called back. Now, I mean, looking at the attacks you spoke about a while ago, and the fact that we hear there is the existence of a certain anti-Galamsey task force that has not been sanctioned, but has even gotten the nerve to clash with the national duly sanctioned anti-Galamsey task force. I mean, how do we approach this? The miners say, get a committee to investigate this committee, because if you don't do that, you cannot win. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, if there's a committee, are you saying that this committee is also supposed to be a government committee, or are you saying that this committee was formed by illegal miners?
Okay, as they say, the story says, formed by powerful individuals. Oh, I mean,
okay. So this is not a government. Okay, so then for me, it's simple. We cannot have vigilante groups terrorizing, Ghanaians in our own country. It's ridiculous. We have the police, we have the military, we have the sector ministers, we have the Interior Ministry, Ministry of Defense, and we have, all the security forces. So there is no way that in a democratic country like ours, we can sit down for a handful of people who are calling themselves powerful because presumably they've made money illegally, okay, by terrorizing the rest of us, to overcome our security force. It's not possible. We have a highly competent set of security forces in Ghana. And I am confident that they will deal with these people. The only thing that I think has prevented us from effectively dealing with these people in the past is the will. You know, I don't think that the political will has been fully there. But I think as long as the political will is there, as long as the sector minister is determined to tackle this problem, and the president is determined to tackle this problem and restore peace and order and our health, you know, our health, and all the knock-on effects that this menace called Galamsey is having on our nation because of the greed, the insatiable greed of a handful of non-patriots, that is what I can call them, because if you love your country, you would not behave in that way, then we will overcome them. I'm confident, I have every confidence in Ghana's security forces to overcome these vigilante groups. I don't know how else to describe them. They are private armies or whatever it is that they call themselves. And so I am very confident that as long as we have seen a demonstration of the political will, and as long as it remains that way, I think that this government will go a long way into dealing with this Galamsey menace.
Now, we also understand that the Lands Minister has unveiled a secretariat to coordinate efforts at cracking down on illegal mining. Recently, we saw the Hannah Bisu going onto the field herself to arrest some people. Will this secretariat be the game changer?
Well, I hope so. I would like to think so, because of what we have all seen as Ghanaians so far in the last 6 months. I know we had a similar committee, you know, under the previous administration, which did not work so well, as we found out through Professor Frimpong Boateng and others. But I'm hoping that this one would work. I think that as long as the will is there, as long as the people on the committee are you know, following the mandate that has been given to them faithfully, as long as they are faithfully following that mandate, there's no reason why this can't work. And yes, we did see Dr. Hannah Bisu going in there and tackling some of the problem. And I believe she was even attacked at one point. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. These people have decided that, you know, they've just literally taken control, taking charge of these villages and these mining areas. And for whatever reason, I don't know where they are deriving that kind of effrontery from. But for whatever reason, they really feel they are above the law. And whatever they are getting out of this gold every week or every day or every year or whatever, they must continue to get. It just cannot be allowed to continue. It cannot. It's an existential threat to Ghanaians. Ghanaian children are being born with defects. There are mixed Chinese and Ghanaian children walking all around with no fathers. There are all sorts of social problems associated to it. There are health problems. It's affecting the education of children. We just can't afford, and our water bodies are dying, our forest reserves are dying. We cannot allow it to continue. It's absolutely a non-starter. It cannot continue. That reign of terror must end now.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a good time to bring in Dr. James Kwabena Bonfe, PhD, into the conversation. It's good to see you, sir.
His is duly end.
Well, I think he doesn't like the doctor. He doesn't like the title. So we can just stick to James Kwabena Bonfe, PhD. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, you know, we're talking about Galamsey, how some rogue task forces are, you know, costing a stir, what the ministers are doing and all that. But feel free to give us a reflection on any national topic, and then we can touch on Galamsey before we continue.
Illegal mining, I prefer to call it.
Okay.
The Galamsey is a misuse, and it's kind of encourages the impunity. if you have a bit of history. But I want to start with today, June 30. Day in the history of our nation that we must forever say, never again. Never again that we would have the brutal abduction and murder of 3 high court judges and a retired army officer for no reason known to us to date. And as we speak, the true perpetrators of that heinous crime, that dastardly act, as we speak, we never came to a required conclusion on that, except to say that some persons were tried in absentia, sentenced, and as we speak, one of them, Amedeka, is still away. We cannot, as a country, bring him to justice. It's a sad day. And I am aware that the Ghana Bar Association is conducting, as it does annually, some event to commemorate that day and say, may they rest in peace, but may that never happen again, never again. But more importantly, which is the third important reason why this recall is important, is to encourage the men and women who put themselves up to serve in the judiciary, whose authority and power emanates from the people. If you read Article 1251, justice emanates from us, the people. And that is why it is important that things going on in court ought to be put to the people to understand what is going on. That said, I just want to tie into what is going on with illegal mining. You know, anybody who has followed the issue of mining in this country for a very long time and is willing and ready to face it will come to no conclusion than to say that we are our own enemies. The verdict of the people on the illegal activities of miners, whether they are licensed or not licensed, is the issue. What's the verdict of the people? We tend, or we have decided, to let material acquisition and wealth be our focus. That today it doesn't matter where you make money from. If you come flashing in the neighborhood with some material stuff, all of a sudden you become a revered person in society, in the church, in the traditional society. When we were growing up, even us, in our mid-40s and late 40s, we knew of sikafi. We knew of dirty money. People whose wealth was disgusted and abhorred in society. They had money, but nobody wanted to socialize with them. Mm-hmm. Today, what has happened? That it doesn't matter how ill one gets money. Once you have money in your pocket, once you have a car, once you have a certain house, once you have a certain clothes on, you are okay to go. What has happened to us? It's a high time we sat back and asked that, as a country, the values around which we are to develop and to move on together, have we departed from them? And if we have, how can we go back? There's a text in the second book of Peter, chapter 3, verse 9, that I love so much. He said, God is not slow to anger. He's not. But that he is patient so we can repent. We have been gambling with this country and our lives. Our governments, our parliaments, and name it. We gamble. But as Kenny Rogers says, every gambler knows the secret to survival. And if you gamble it right. Mm. But are we gambling it right? So, illegal mining, the issue is not so much the absence of law. The problem is our unwillingness to enforce and our acquiescence of impunity. Where are they coming from? As we speak, there are a high number of excavators at the ports. Are you aware of that? Who is importing them? Who is going to release them? Where are they going to go? These are things that if we are concerned as government to fight, this is where we must tackle it.
I understand we are tracking these excavators.
I'm saying that as new excavators have come, you are tracking them to where? And what has become of the tracking? There was a time, and I heard my sister Vicky talk about it. We seized excavators. It became news that they got vanished on this network. We heard them. What happened? Policemen, judges mentioned, and because we are not ready to be specific to instances, we tend to generalize, and everybody is a suspect. Cynicism growing in it. But I'm saying that there is no village or town in this country where land has no ownership. Okay, Mesa Saba settled it years ago that every land is owned.
Yeah.
So what stake has any owner in the land that we say in Article 2576 and the Minerals and Mining Law 2006 Act 703 Section 1, that once a mineral is found, it belongs to the state and the government, the president holds it in trust, and deprive the people of any ownership. Its exploitation rather degenerates, or if you like, disadvantages the people solely. So you need to look at the law, which was a colonial relic. When our people rose and fought against the Crown Land Bill in 1896 and 97. And then they said that, okay, own your lands. But if you find a mineral in it, you need permission from the state to mine it. And then 1962, we passed that to say the mineral belongs to the state. So the state can compulsorily acquire the land, and you are only entitled to compensation. We have done this, and reports have generated reports that the people feel deprived. So give them a share. And that has been my advocacy lately, that 100% ownership to the state must change. Let the owners, where the mineral is found, have a share. Because when you go to exploit it, the disadvantage is to them alone and not the entire state.
But when it comes to Galamsey, as we've seen it,
illegal mining.
Illegal mining, as we've seen it.
Galamsey is a shortened form of gather them and sell. You know that.
So illegal mining.
Yes.
Is it really about ownership? Because these people are exploiting it in their own communities.
See, that's the problem. Because the people know that they cannot exploit the mineral. When it is on their land, it's in their water or wherever they are. But somebody who can take a license from the state will come there and exploit it and deny them of their sources of livelihood.
Okay.
It will destroy their water, pollute their air. Sometimes it comes with diseases. Scientific studies have been done. Metal deposits in their systems, women losing their reproductive systems, children with disability being born at birth and all those, they will suffer it, not the entire state. So, in denying us all these things and the penalties that we are suffering for no crime or no sin, we have to also take advantage of it. That is why people will go and say that they are selling their cocoa farms.
And some of them taken forcibly.
Yes.
You said that people bring guns and...
Forcibly. Yeah. Yes. So the point is that the law must change.
All right.
But no matter what the law says, if we are not willing to enforce it, if we are not a willing people to abide by the law, no matter what we do, we will come to naught. And I'm saying that, you see, the law is as good as the people who are called upon to obey or enforce it. So at the end of the day, give the people a share in the ownership.
Okay.
They will become interested in protecting how it is mined. They will see to it that the rules governing mining are followed. If the rules were followed, I'm sure a lot of the disaster that we have will not happen.
Okay.
Because you have got clauses for reclamation when you mine. You have clauses for not using certain chemicals. You have clauses that say that you cannot mine within a certain distance to a water body. a forest area. We don't comply because, well, the people will come anyways.
All right.
So you think ownership will change that?
It will help in a highway and then enforcement. Ownership and enforcement.
Okay. All right.
Well, let's... Vicky, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to touch on something briefly that my brother Governor said about values. You know, he talked about Sikafi. You know, and I was growing up. Really, people didn't care how rich you were. What they cared about is how you got that money.
Yeah.
And they would look at that before deciding whether to respect you or not. But now we're doing things back to front. Everybody wants things without the process. And I think we need to reset. You know, we need to go back to those kinds of values that you earn things. Things are earned. You don't just grab, you know, because it's now permeated all aspects of our society. You get kids leaving school and wanting to be, you know, they want everything and they want it now. And if unfortunately they end up in a position which they have no business being put in, usually in politics, they will just loot and loot and loot to quickly buy the house, quickly buy that car, quickly do this, quickly do that, put their kids in schools that they feel, you know, and they just have no business doing that. So I really think that as a nation, we really have to go back, and I don't know whether it's the NCC's job, whether it's civic education or whatever, but it's something that we really, really have to tackle head on and not brush under the table or ignore, and stop celebrating people with money who have obtained the money through illegal means or just these kinds of means. Stop it, you know?
Well, thank you so much. Let's move on from Galamsey now and do some other stories. Over the weekend, we heard news that a young boy had been shot.
He's a student of Nkwanta Senior High School.
Through stray bullets. And I don't want you to hear the story from us. Our man on grounds is joining us right now via Zoom. And Peter Sanu is our OT regional correspondent, and he brings us all the details and how we are trying to resolve that matter right now. Peter, what can you tell us about what led to this and how they're resolving it as we speak?
Well, what we do know is that last Friday, students at Nkwanta Senior High School were writing their mocks in preparation for the WASI in the coming months. And somehow, some group of people, we do not know whether they are the main security on the ground or some criminal individuals who may want to take advantage of this situation, were pursuing someone. And so the person would have to run and take cover around Nkwanta Senior High School. And then that is all we know that led to some sporadic shootings that unfortunately one of the ammunitions went and hit the said student, and then he died straight away at the Nkwanta Senior High School. And so that is all we do know happened last Friday.
Have they launched an official investigation into the matter? And what can you tell us about the reaction from the community members and the family of this young boy?
Well, we do know that the security is or are on the ground, because we know the police, the military, they are on the ground ensuring that nothing gets out of hand. And so we should, suggest that they are doing the investigation to pursue whoever might have done this shooting last Friday. And in fact, in Nkwanta community, as we speak, is deserted, so to say. People have left, and others are still living. Last Friday, I had a chance on a teacher who was fleeing the development and would have to share his glory experiences with us. And so people are fleeing Nkwanta, and then Nkwanta almost is becoming a dead town. What is worrying is that anytime the town tries to bounce back, one of these things rear its ugly head and then disrupts the whole peace process. And so the town is almost deserted, and only few indigents who are managing to put themselves together and make ends meet.
Well, Peter, so as we speak, you're saying that critical institutions like the hospitals or clinics, banks and what have you, have all closed down. Is that it?
Exactly the situation. In fact, the hospitals we know have closed down. Only a few departments are working currently. In fact, last Thursday or Friday, the GCB Bank there issued a statement that they had temporarily closed down We know other banks have done the same thing. The two main hospitals, the St. Joseph's and then the government hospital there, the workers have left the town, and so technically the departments will have to close down. Only few men are there manning some of the departments currently as we speak. Kojo.
What is the MUSEC doing about this situation? Because you said that anytime CAMS seem to be returning, then this rears its head again. What is MUSEC doing?
Well, MUSEC, I should say, who will be doing their bid. But Nkwanta is I don't know how to put it in a plain word, but sides seem to be planting whatever peace process there is. But what we also do know is that it has moved from MUSEC to RECSEC, where the Regional Security Council had met both sides of the feuding factions, so to say, and to ensure peace, that this year there wouldn't be any form of celebration of a sort. And so that is what we do know. And so for this to happen, that somebody or a group were going to do to perform some rites, so to usher in the harvest of the new yam, that is what initially led to this development. So it is beyond MUSEC now. I think the issue is in the hands of RECSEC, and they would have to come in again to ensure that lives and properties are protected. Kojo.
Well, we understand that the MC who wanted to engage this morning is en route to meet the police because there's some briefing going on. And so as and when we can get in touch with him, we will. Peter, before you go, I want some sort of response or reaction from the family of this boy who's just lost his life.
Yes, developments around this death, in fact, the family is saddened by this development. And it is not him alone, but we will hear two more people of the same tribe have been shot, but not that they have sustained gunshot wounds. In fact, let me put it in plain language that Concomba died. That was the guy who died last Friday writing his book, and two more Concombas have been shot. And so I know that the former regional minister, Joshua Makubu, had issued a statement. The immediate past former regional minister, Machato, Daniel Machato, was on the ground. But he has been interacting with the family of the deceased, that they should calm down and that there is no need to retaliate, and that taking lives constantly would not help resolve the problem. So he has been speaking over the weekend to some families or group of people that not to avenge the death of this young man. And so when the family is distraught, then the tribe men of these guys have been not to retaliate in any form they may want to react. So that is currently what is happening. And so we are yet to officially hear from the police from the number of deaths and how they are handling the situation. For now, we have not heard of any official statement, from the police, the Regional Security Council, we can recall.
Peter Senu there, OT Regional Correspondent, thank you so much for bringing us the details on this rather sad incident. And James Kobinabofe, this happened over the weekend, and he's saying that the town is almost deserted, but lives are being lost in this sporadic shooting. Not sure what your thoughts are on this, but let's hear it.
Again, it comes back to the issue of the willingness of the people to abide faithfully by our own calling and our constitution. Are we allowed to own and hold or keep guns?
If you register it.
That's the first question. There are conditions under which you can. The reason why there's a need for registration is that not anybody can be allowed to keep a gun. Your psychology, your mental frame, your disposition and your temperament and how you can control yourself, and also the capacity, the technical capacity to handle the weapon. All these are put into consideration in granting you the license to own or hold the gun. Can we say that all the people holding guns or owning guns in this country have gone through that process? The answer would be no. Because if they were, these sporadic shootings and careless killing of people will not be reported. But How do we as a people take this? Do we frown on it? We don't. In fact, recently on social media at a party, a young man pulled a shotgun and was shooting in the air. What has happened of that? We are displaying these things on air. It's a show of, oh, we have arrived, we have this, we have that. So the mindset of our people, again, you go back to the issue of values. It goes back to the work of the NCC, but the police itself, the education arm of the police. So then I'll link it to these ethnic, tribal, local-based conflicts. Look, if we don't focus on respecting our limits as people, we will go nowhere. Restraint is the one key ingredient to bringing people together. Restraint. Because, you see, your rights begin where mine ends.
Yeah.
In fact, when mine is about to end, that's where yours begins, not when it has ended. So they collide. And there's a friction, likely friction, if we don't gauge and limit ourselves. That's where restraint is very important. So these many ethnic or tribal issues, we know. In my backyard, we have some of that. We have it. People know who royals are, who is entitled to which skin, which stool. And yet, we get up and we are fighting over them. And when cases go to the House of Chiefs, we sit there. For years, we never settle them. Some have traveled to the Supreme Court. The issue of justice delivery and delayed justice is denied justice. Hurried justice is also buried justice. So we need to negotiate in between and make sure that we act well and act right. When lives are lost, you can't bring them back. What is hurtful is that perhaps the person who's been shot had nothing to do with these issues. Had nothing. But somebody's careless and excuse my word this morning, foolish display of power because he's holding a gun killed him. And sometimes we will not even expedite action in such a trial to make sure that it serves as a deterrent. So, look, we can do all the sermonizing, but please, Ghanaians, this is our country. There can be no country better than Ghana. If our calling is freedom and justice, we need to understand what it means, justice. There are two words in the Hebrew language for justice, not one. They have tzedakah and mishpat. One is distributive and one is retributive. The two combine to give meaning to justice. Let's make sure that there's fairness and equity in the display and share of resources available to us. Okay. And then when people have offended the law, let us quickly move in to make sure that we apprehend and deal with them so that it serves as a deterrent.
Okay. But there's something you said that is striking, that the people who litigate over who is the rightful heir to a throne,
yes,
they know the rightful heir, yet they litigate. Of course. Then is this intentional? If it is, how do we then deal with it?
It is not only intentional, Kojo, it is devilish. It is evil. It is satanic. Look, power, and true state power, the little I study from those who know better in Manshia, the Asante Federation, and in Yagbang, the Gonja Federation. Power is, so delicate and so complicated that it comes with bearing burdens. You carry, it's a load. The moment you submit yourself to it, you are no longer Kojo Brace. That is why when a chief goes through the process and comes out, there's a new name. It's baptism. You become a new person. And from that day on, anything you owned to the time that you became chief is no longer yours, including your wives and children. So many a royal ran away from it. So you hear of stories that they had to chase him to bring him. Because the moment you become chief, you are subject to the dictates of others. You are no longer speaking with your mind alone. When Asantehene Otumfuo is speaking, listen to him very carefully. And in former times, they slept where food was left and libation was poured. It's a miserable place. And that's why Rattray said in 1929 that those who rose to power in ancient times rose to, responsibilities and duties, obligations, and not privileges and rights as we do today. So it is because a lot of people don't understand, and because we have watered down what it means to be a chief. You are a commander, you are the first to go to war, not commander-in-chief as we have in contemporary terms where the president will give a command and soldiers will go. You will lead the fight.
Okay, let's hear Victoria out on this issue as well. And Vicky, let's hear your reflections on this rather sad story this morning.
Yes, sweetie, it's very, very sad. It's tragic. First of all, I want to express my deepest condolences to the family of these students. I understand 2 girls as well, 2-day students were also killed in this thing. I don't know what to say because it's totally unacceptable. It seems like we have all these illegal firearms in the country, and the situation is getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. And something must be done to curb that, because if you don't have access to it, of course, people can always use other weapons if they are so determined. But having all these guns everywhere, it's becoming a huge problem. Of course, we're not talking about licensed firearms. We're talking about illegal firearms, which people are using to perpetrate some of these crimes. I mean, what did these children do? They were just trying to get an education, for God's sake. That's all. That's the only crime. They were just trying to get an education. Parents, the day students' parents thought they were just going to school. Mom, Dad, I'll see you later. This one was a border. They know that their child is safe within the confines of the school. And this is what happened. A stray bullet. So I think that clampdown of these firearms is important. We haven't heard from the authorities yet, as your reporter said just now. But I think we should wait to hear what they have to say. There must definitely be an investigation into this matter. And all the perpetrators must be brought to justice. You cannot just get up and do what you want. It seems like people feel they can just get up and do what they want. And if we allow that to continue, I mean, that's a downward spiral. We cannot go down that spiral because it's a very dangerous spiral for us to allow ourselves to be led into. People have fled their homes as a result of this. Look at the state. I'm seeing the pictures on the screen now. I mean, look at the state of this is a town. People have homes, they have jobs, they have businesses, and they've left out of fear. We don't even know where they are. They are temporarily homeless until they can get some assurance that peace and law and order has been restored. So I think our security forces have to move in very quickly. I'm sure they are there. Well, they are there now, as we can see. And they have to restore confidence, public trust and confidence back into the place so that people can come back and get on with their lives. And these guys have to be dealt with, because if not, it will continue. And we just can't afford. The cost is too high. The human cost, the cost is too high. These families have now been left without their children. And I feel for them. As a mother, I just can't fathom it.
Right.
So it has to stop. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Maybe we
and just one more thing as well. I don't know whether there is some mediation going on between these two factions or not. But if there isn't, then I think that has to be put in place immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Well, once we are in Nkwanta, let's come to the Volta region. Then.
See, one of the recommendations I made at the end of my study into Asante and Gonja, rich knowledge I found about governance in general was that we need to codify our rich history, including succession plans. From this gate, it goes to that gate. From that gate, it comes here. And then we insist on enforcement. Because this cannot be a recurrent situation. Almost all the chieftaincy issues, it is one group saying or trying to usurp what doesn't belong to them. Simple. I can tell you.
But that's true. That's it.
Always. And we know. I don't want to cite any example. It's so nauseating and annoying when you see them. Some go and then in the process they die. Some get it and they cannot even customarily call a meeting of their subjects because you know the thing that you claim to have, you are not entitled to it. And you can't perform the rituals because if you do, you die.
Anyway.
I mean, the Asantes have done it. So, I mean, we have an example we can even look at.
Let's codify.
Yeah, there are some tribes who have tried, but I mean, it comes down to the point of someone almost always trying to usurp power when it's not their turn to take it.
Because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
Now, from Nkwanta, let's go to the Volta region where we understand heavy rains have turned everyday life into crisis for residents of some communities like Laoshime, Mamime, and nearby communities in the Keta municipality. Homes are flooded, farmlands lost, and children are walked through flood waters just to reach their classrooms. Quite sad. I mean, we are showing you visuals on the television now. The times we are in, we shouldn't have students, going through this trouble. Now, the devastation has left livelihoods in limbo and families in urgent need of support. Local authorities say they are doing what they can, deploying canoes and planning relief. But for many here, survival now hangs in the balance. And this is quite sad. Let me start with Vicky. Vicky, I mean, you're watching the visuals here. Year in, year out, we speak about how floods cause devastation in communities. Yet, every year, some communities should expect that they'll go through this. How can we really end this?
Well, look, I think that this flood issue is a big one in the country. And as you said, every year people are dying. And we can't seem to get to the bottom of it. I don't think it's that complicated because, all over the world, there are countries which suffer from floods, some more severe than others, some combined with tornadoes and other things. And yet people, the human cost is not, unless it's a sudden occurrence, the human cost is not as high as it has been in our country. So I think we have to find a solution to it. I don't know whether it's a drainage problem or it's more than that, but there must be an element of drainage systems involved. So I would just urge the government and the municipalities to come together to put in place the infrastructure that is required. I mean, what we are looking at now on the screen is heartbreaking. Why should children go through this just to go to school in the morning and then go through it to go back home every day during this season? It's not as if we don't know about it. These are things that are predictable because, as you said, it's every year. I mean, it's Ghana. We have the dry season and the rainy season. So it is, it's something that can be planned for. If you have an emergency situation, that's a different matter. But this is not. This is something that we know is going to happen every year. So why do we sit down and wait for a year every time for it to happen? So I think, we need to just tackle the problem once and for all. Not just over there, but in Accra as well. I mean, people die all the time.
Vicky, do you think we can actually, can we forecast and say in the next 2 decades or 3, Ghana can actually deal with these flooding problems and its constant harm that it causes us? We are still, healing from that Notong what's it called? After the floods. We have a feature series called After the Floods, you know. Every year we deal with this. Meanwhile, we have foreign investors who've given us money to sort of structure, you know, our, what's it called? Town and country planning very well so that we don't build on waterways, but we keep coming back to the same problem. Do you think that we can actually deal with this thing head on and then we'll never say that a year came, the rains came, and no lives or properties were lost?
I'm someone who likes to think the glass is half full, okay, as opposed to half empty.
Okay.
And so I would like to think that we will have a competent government that will tackle this problem once and for all. Because as you say, we actually even get money from donors.
We do.
Yeah, we do. And it's just not, it's misapplying these funds. And people are, you know, this whole thing this has been a running theme this morning, just impunity. People are just deciding they're building water bodies or waterways, whatever. And they build the house and nothing happens. We have to have the confidence to actually tear it down. You do it and people come to understand that if you do these things and they are illegal and you go and build in the middle of a waterway, your house will come down. If you do it and people see it, of course nobody will do that because it's not easy to build a home, you know, but you have to do it responsibly. So yes, I mean, we have to. And I guess circling back to the question that you asked, sweetie, I think we have to get it right. Because what is the consequence of not getting it right? More Ghanaian lives are lost. More children go through this. I mean, we just say, ow, ow, and then we carry on with our lives. Meanwhile, because of climate change and all of that, the rains are becoming very intense. The dry season, rainy season is all blurry. So we have to sort this thing out. We don't have a choice.
Okay.
We don't have a choice.
James, half full, half empty?
I am also an optimist. I believe in half full. However, I am not just a half full optimist. I'm also an advocate for avoiding the repetition of mistakes. You cannot develop by repeating errors. To quote Nana Kobran Ketia de Faith, you know, to develop is to stop making mistakes.
In fact, they say that's the definition of stupidity. To do the same thing, expect different results.
So, in my optimism, I am passionate about discussing how we leave self-inflicted problems. Our professionals, lawyers, engineers, accountants, pharmacists, doctors, journalists, teachers, lecturers, what have you, pastors. There is no single problem in this country that one set or a combination of them are not responsible. There's no problem. Every problem we sit on in this country is as a result of these professional people who ought to know or know better. And I would have preferred that in some of these conversations, those who know better and are specialized in these areas would give you the history. I don't know which area we are talking about.
This is in the Keta area.
You go and you read newspaper headlines from the 1950s and they will report the same thing.
Yeah.
So what are we teaching these children? We are teaching them. We are teaching them that our problems are unsolvable.
They are normal.
You must live with them. So this child is not challenged to overcome the problem if he becomes an engineer. He is taught that make money out of it. And Vicky alluded to it. If you go and check the number of projects that have been adopted, accepted with local and foreign funding to deal with this problem, you will marvel. I don't have the facts, but from what I know elsewhere, you see, the problems we have in this country have all had suggested solutions with resources allocated to solve them. You know why they persist? They persist because people make money out of the problems.
Accra, we have the Garrett project.
So you go in to solve it, and they will look at you as a foolish guy. That's where we milk the cow. You want to stop it? Our attitudes, our minds. This is what we failed to heed to when in 1957, March 6, Kwame Nkrumah said, we must realize that we are no longer a colonial, but a free and independent people. We must change our minds, our attitudes. Do we feel dissatisfied with our situation? We seem to be satisfied. Otherwise, we will live with it. So there's no sense of dissatisfaction challenging us to move out of that situation. That said, let's ask ourselves that in that area, these problems that are going on, and the issue of an insatiable attempt to remove the head of our judiciary, which is more important? And in which one are we committing more energy and resources in this country?
Okay.
Solving this problem and getting rid of the head of our judiciary in a manner and a process that has been questioned and we are, ignoring. That is who we are.
Questioned by who?
It's been questioned by at least 5 cases. The CJ herself, dissatisfied and frustrated, has taken it to the people from who justice emanates. And we have issues with that. We don't have a problem with this. You see who we are as a people.
So you're saying the Chief Justice was right to
hold a press conference.
Exactly, a process that the Constitution says must be held in camera. She comes to the public to speak about it.
You see, that is a mistake. Did you hear her talk about what is before the committee? She said she doesn't even know what is before the committee. Okay. And we are not worried about that. We are not worried that she's saying that she is being accused of things that have not been made open to her. People have been called in to testify about things that she doesn't know she's accused of. We are not worried about it. In fact, the moment I heard her hold the press conference, the fact that she was even going to hold the press conference was an alarm for me. We seem to be crossing the red line as a country. Enough of the gamble. Let's stop it. Let's repent.
Some people disagree with you. I listened to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong from the Center for Democratic Development, and he said that those who say the current processes to remove the Chief Justice or to determine whether or not she comes back, those who are calling it unconstitutional are yet to point out the exact constitutional infractions that they're talking about. He also says that at some point, and I'm not quoting him verbatim, I'm paraphrasing the things I got from that conversation. At some point in time, the Chief Justice will have the opportunity to respond to all these issues that have been brought before the committee. So why come to the public? Why flaw the processes? And it almost sounds as if she doesn't have trust in the same judiciary that she headed for many years now. It has been a part of for decades, like she started that process saying.
And in fact, she's still the head.
Years. Well, as we speak, because she's just on suspension. She hasn't been removed yet. How do you respond?
You see, it's very simple. I think that this matter, which should have given us opportunity to learn, a lot of us are commenting out of emotions. There are a replete of cases decided by the Supreme Court that the process is violating. Look, this is, and mind you, the CJ, I have heard people suggest that, Mrs. Charlotte Osei was the first to go through this. In 2015, Vice President John Dramani, then President of the Republic.
No, 2015 should have been John Mahama.
But before that, even before that one, when he was Vice President in the absence of the President, and then subsequent to that, when he was President and his Vice President, you remember the Anas Aremiyao tapes when they came out. Decisions were taken against some judges, and some of them went to court. And the Supreme Court decided this is one of them, the Republic versus the Chief Justice and then the Attorney General. The Supreme Court said that in Article 1468 is subsumed Article 19. What is Article 19? Rights of an individual to fair hearing. So you cannot say that I am trying you, and the charges against which you are being tried, you don't know. And people are saying that she already knows. Let me correct them. One, the president received petitions.
Yes.
And the president was bound to establish prima facie in consultation with the Council of State. Even though the president was going to go ahead to do it without hearing the Chief Justice, the Chief Justice's letter to him drew his attention to it, consistent and in tandem with decisions of the Supreme Court in Ajechum, in Ransford France, in Afoko, and then Paul Derry, that give the person an opportunity before you establish the prima facie. So when the CJ wrote to him, he then gave her the petitions, and she responded. Establishing prima facie has been given guidelines by decisions of the Supreme Court that you will then go ahead to consider what her responses are to the petitions and decide on which of them her responses had failed, for which a committee was necessary to go into. And we have an instance here. The case of Mrs. Charlotte Osei and her deputies, when they appeared before this is a report, okay, on how Mrs. Charlotte Osei and her two deputies. Mrs. Charlotte Osei was a witness to the removal of one of her deputies. At least I have the report here.
What are you saying that
these
judges...
Well, I'm coming. Yeah. So when the president had received the responses of the Chief Justice, he now had to run them with the petitions he had received and sift through with the Council of State or whoever was assisting him, and come to the conclusion that her responses failed to adequately respond to petition 1, 2, 3, 4. So there was a need for a committee to go into it and question her. That is what necessitates the setting up of the committee. And that when the president has exercised this duty, which is quasi-judicial, the Supreme Court says that he needs to give a reason. He doesn't just have to say that I've established prima facie. Why is the prima facie? So in this case, Justice Sophia Akufo gave responses to the petitions received from Emmanuel Kusi Senyo, which ones of the petitions she was admitting and which ones she could not take before the committee was set. So the committee went into 2 out of 4 issues that the petitioner had brought. Is that the case we have here? No. So the Chief Justice is saying that you haven't done the necessary things to now compel me to go before a committee and answer on questions towards my removal. You have gone ahead to suspend me. I think it is wrong, but I have complied, hoping that the committee will be, clothed with the right things to do. The committee, according to the Chief Justice, is saying that what the CJ and the president wrote to them, she is supposed to have been written to. Is that not the case? But she has told us that the president hasn't given her any issues for which her responses in the earlier response to the petition, failed to address. So this is where the problem is. And I'm saying that, you see, if you say that nobody has raised an issue of breach, we have raised issues of breach of Article 146(3), 4, 6, and even 9.
Because of the reasons.
Because of the basis. You see,
on which the prima facie were determined.
Yes. And you see, Kojo, this is the point. The road to justice is as important as the justice we arrive at.
Okay.
In the issue of justice delivery, and my sister Vicky knows this better than I do, that the means and the process are as important as the product. In fact, the product can be marred and destroyed by the process and the means. So, if we are taking a certain step, and in this case, touching on the essential, the core principle of separation of powers, which is integral to our constitutional democracy in this Fourth Republic, and we don't see it as a key and critical issue that borders on the sustenance of our democracy, then I'm worried.
But you said justice emanates from the people.
Yes.
The same people, if you gauge the mood of Kenyans, majority of them are not on the side of the CJ, despite the press conference. So how isn't that justice then, when the people from who justice emanate from do not side with her?
As a researcher, I believe in data.
Okay.
Who has gone to talk to which people in this country and put the issues that I'm raising now to the people to solicit or elicit the response that you are giving?
So you are saying that
hasn't been done.
People are commenting on it without really understanding the issue.
No.
There was a survey the lead up right after the election. I just the name eludes me right now, where they say Ghanaians have lost faith in the judiciary. In fact, it was about a number of
City. You can go to CDD
in terms
Afro
of corruption.
CDD Afro Barometer.
Afro Barometer report was one of them.
It is not Afro Barometer reports.
Yeah.
From at least about 2009 have raised issues about judiciary, the police and all that. That is not the same as the specific issue of the Chief Justice we are talking about.
Okay.
And let's stop confusing them.
Okay.
Let's stop confusing them.
Let's hear Vicky on this. She's a lawyer, so her legal expertise will come in handy.
Exactly. I mean, both of them are lawyers.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And Vicky, I mean, over the weekend, you were saying that the Chief Justice didn't get the sympathy she sought to court with that presser. But we've lost Vicky. So over the weekend, I think on Newsfile, she made a statement like that. And I wanted to piggyback and see whether or not she agrees with you.
I don't think that the Chief Justice presser was about sympathy. I think she made it clear in her press statement. And I hope that we took our time to listen to her. She gave 4 reasons. 1 was the historical nature of this matter. 2, and which was more important, is that at the heart of this matter are issues affecting people more than her, institutions more than her. If we allow this process, faulted as it is, to continue, it will not be Tokonu, it will be somebody else, including some of the people exercising judgment over that matter. Then she raised the issue about the breaches of law and the practice that is unknown so far. So she raised fundamental issues, and I'm saying that those who think that she was wrong in doing that, I mean, we have right. She's not beyond suit already. She's already been suspended. So let's point to the law that she has breached in holding the presser and deal with her. Some have suggested she's in contempt of it. I don't know. I don't think so.
Kojo, I know you want to stay on this, but I want to tie in the issue about Jean Mensah, because the boss of Imani, Frank Kojo, has also added his voice for the call to remove the EC. And this started from that statement from chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu, that in fact all 3, the EC and her 2 deputies, should go because of incompetence, some negligence, and so many issues that they have raised. And Frank Kojo is saying that they cannot petition because everybody knows his position, and they've already petitioned Straj on the matter, and they think they are working on it to see whether or not these concerns will be addressed.
This current electoral commission that conducted the referendum in 2019, the general elections in 2020, and I think there was an election in between, assembly elections.
District level elections.
And then the 2024 general elections. Any student of elections in Ghana who is going to be fair to the facts will show that they have improved the performance of the Electoral Commission by way of time management, by way of resources, by way of easing the process of casting a vote for electorates. I don't know how many of us who are watching or listening voted in 2012, 2008, 2004, 2000, 96, 92, and voted 2016, 2020, 2024, and the assembly elections in between. These people have reduced the time that you spend at the polling station by far. I'm not the only one saying it. The Commission, the European Union Commission report, CODIO, and election observers. Don't forget that recently they conducted the election of the NDC, where my uncle Asiedu Ketia emerged as the chairman.
The national
and the NDC, the National NDC party, were praising the Electoral Commission for the mature and the efficient manner in which they conducted their election. Turn around today to say that they are incompetent.
But they are basing... Because that was where we saw, I mean, what the things that you enumerated, it means that they've done some good work. But the Ghanaians, or the people who are saying they should go, are saying that it's just not enough to keep them there. There were discrepancies in figures that came from the EC. There was that attempt to remove the indelible ink that came up, became very controversial.
Which discrepancies?
The lead up to election 2024, the EC gave us numbers in terms of the total.
Please.
I'm just citing some of the issues that came up.
City.
Yeah.
I was there when the EC met all the claimants. My friend and brother Omane Boama, who is the defense minister now, he was shamed there when the Electoral Commission exposed his questions to public view. The irregularities and the inconsistencies that they pointed to them and showed that names that he was claiming were not even in the register were there. He couldn't come back to respond, and you are repeating that here. Please.
I'm talking about the figures that the EC gave out in terms of the total number of registered.
And that's what I'm talking about.
You are talking about the names in the voter register.
It was together. It was together.
Okay, but we did experience some discrepancies in the numbers that the Electoral Commission was churning out in the lead up to election.
There were issues people had raised. The Electoral Commission took their time and invited all stakeholders to Alisa.
Yes, but what Suti is referring to is during the voter registration. You remember?
Yes.
That the EC put out a certain figure for, I think it's
the number of people who have been registered. Yes.
And then it came back to change it.
Yes, there were issues.
Those are.
I'm just citing these issues.
But those are normal. Those are normal with
that's what they're saying is the problem. You can't call these pardonable mistakes. That was something I think Bosman said, that these are just...
No, sweetie. And now what I'm saying is that every election process is a cycle. During registration, figures are generated from the polling centers or the registration centers. They come through to Accra and they release them. So there were some issues along the line about which numbers had come and which numbers were not up to. And they explained that there were some people who were registering in real time, coming onto the system, and some were being done offline. And so the explanations were given. I'm trying to say that when issues have been raised and explanations have been given to respond to them and clarify, they are no longer issues.
Okay.
And registration challenges, there is no registration process since 1992 that we Ghanaians have not raised issues with.
You just said on the issue about the voter region flood, the students, that we have sort of normalized these problems. Could it be the case that you're saying that we always have issues during registration, so we should not demand more from the Electoral Commission?
I'm not saying that. So, okay, so here is the point, and consistent with what I'm saying. I have had issues with the EC about rolling out their own reforms that they commissioned. Unfortunately, I served on that committee with my uncle Asedun Ketia, that you need to make sure that if you are doing online, it is online throughout. This offline registration and online registration, which leads to having discrepancies, is not the way to go. So it's a challenge. But the EC has also consistently told us about challenges in some areas that, as a result of which, they cannot also stop.
Are you saying there's no basis to remove the current EC chair and her two deputies? You see, no evidence anywhere for which reason people
with the greatest respect. No. Anybody who is suggesting that is laughable. All the allegations that were made against them towards 2024, they vindicated themselves, that they are committed. And listen, the issue of collation, they have their part and the security has a part.
Okay.
On December 19, 2024, people have forgotten that the EC held a press conference and told us that they were having certain challenges, but they were going about them.
I've just been told we have to wrap up, but Vicky is back. I quickly want to get her thoughts on the suspended Chief Justice saga, and then we can pop off. And Vicky, thanks for coming back. So I was saying that over the weekend, I heard you say that the suspended Chief Justice probably did not get the sympathy she wanted or sought to court from the public with that presser. And James is saying that the processes are flawed. We have some constitutional infractions that if we are not careful, will sort of destroy the whole process or the product, like you said. I want to hear a reflection on this. In terms of the processes to remove the Chief Justice, I mean, yeah.
On the Chief Justice,
yeah.
sure. I'll summarize because I know your program is coming to an end.
Yeah.
My views are what I have already said quite extensively over the weekend. My starting point is that no one is bigger than the Constitution. Yeah. I mean, before I do all of that, I have to say that if it is true that there are threats to her person, then obviously that's something that has to be taken very seriously. She has to report that to the police, and the police must act, because we are all Ghanaians, we're entitled to be safe, you know, in our homes. So that's one, I think everybody will agree with her, that if that is true, it cannot be tolerated. Now, going back to the issue at hand, no one is bigger than the Constitution. From the president who swore to uphold the Constitution to you and I, we are all subjected to it. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. There are flaws in it. And as I have said previously, and we all know, it's a living document. So from time to time, this is why you have various presidents setting up constitutional review committees to look at things that have not worked so well for us. And there is one going on now. We have seen the flaws of the operation of Article 146, not just here, but you know, in its previous iterations as well. So these are some of the things that they can look at. It's not something that's new. We have decided case law on Article 146. Exactly. It's been used to remove, it was used to remove a former EC chair, Charlotte Osei, Loretta Lamte, some Superior Court justices, etc. So we have a good understanding of how it works currently as framed under our Constitution. And the other point I made is that people say that, well, look, it's the first time it's been used against the CJ, you know, and that is true to the extent that it's the first time it's been used against the CJ to this extent, because under President Kufuor's administration, there was Bright Akwete, there was a Bright Akwete petition, 146, Article 146 petition, and President Kufuor actually put the committee together. But in the end, its legality was questioned by Mr. Ejechum, and this is the famous Ejechum case. I wasn't actually present to hear Kwabna's submission because I lost connectivity.
Right.
I don't know whether these are some of the things.
No, I mean, you're just giving us a good summary of what you think is, I mean, really the case. So thank you for joining. Unfortunately, we have to go now. That's all that time will allow. I wanted to just quickly put out this from the Afrexim Bank, this annual meeting. Yeah, Dangote is saying that until we stop looking for foreign investors, Africa will never become as great as we want to. So we should stop looking outside and look within. Yeah.
The goal is beneath us.
You know, those who join us for this conversation, Victoria Bright, she's a legal practitioner and an entrepreneur. Thank you, joining us all the way from another continent. James Kwabna Bonfe Jr., PhD, is CEO of Census and a lecturer at UPSA, and they join us. Coming up next, we get into our big stories. Stick and stay. We'll be right back. Thank you so much.
I've been called. No. Welcome back to the AM show, and let's talk about the Impact Makers Awards, because the night of June 28th was one of inspiration, emotion, and triumph as the third edition of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards honored 10 extraordinary Ghanaians, our unsung heroes and heroines whose work continue to transform lives across the country. This morning, we will be having a chat with some of them for the very first time since the award, to hear how it truly felt, what this national recognition even means for their work, what keeps them going, and what lies ahead. Joining me via Zoom now, two of the finalists, Raymond Senyo Amezado, the overall winner and education advocate, and Portia Dumba, a passionate force in girl-child empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. I hope you're all doing well.
Hi, Portia, I don't know if you can hear me. Let me start with you. How was the feeling on the night when you were honored, for what you do in silent, but now has been given a national recognition?
Honestly, I would say I was very, very excited. And it felt like something that you're doing in your corner, trying to make an impact, not wanting people to, because you're not doing it for people to celebrate you. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're going to be celebrated for something you are doing at the corner that you are passionate about. So it felt like even the little thing we do at our corner that we think people are not seeing us at the right time is going to be appreciated. And I was so excited, and I don't know how to describe the feeling. So it's something that I can't forget about, because I'm very passionate about the impact I make in my community. So something that you're passionate about, you enjoy doing, seeing the smile on people's face, and you're going to be awarded for it. So I feel like double excitement. I'm excited to see my girls, my women, my students, and now on a national television for what I'm passionate about. So yes, it felt so good.
What do you see this will bring to the work you do in silence?
Yes, so I see that this will bring more exposure. And I know there are people who are also passionate in trying to make impact in various ways, but does not even know how. So I think this exposure will further bring more collaborators, partners, and even supporters, so that the work we do will be able to do more. Because imagine an individual doing this amazing work in his or her corner, and then now on a national telly where a lot of people are going to see the work that is being done. So I think this will bring more partners. Like we've already had Sisters Keepers supporting us. And so I feel this will further expose us to do greater and even more than what we are already doing.
So since you were awarded for what you do, have you seen any change in the things or in the way things happen in your corner? Or have you even started having calls about people, like you say, who want to collaborate with you?
Yes. And then as we speak, I think initially since last year, I've been working with Global Share Alliance to get some share seedlings to plant in my community, because I do advocacy on tree planting as well, because I try to discourage them not to cut the tree. So I was trying to get 1,000 seedlings from Global Share Alliance to plant as a way of going beyond the advocacy. And as we speak, Global Share Alliance, they have promised to even increase the 1,000 to 3,000 just after the award. And I know they are more on the way. I've also received calls from people who said they want to meet me, and I know it's in connection with the exposure I had on the 28th.
Okay. There's a lot more to come. Let me bring in Raymond Senor Amezado now. Senor, you are the overall winner. I mean, how did it feel like when your name was called that overall you are the winner?
First of all, thank you for having me, and good morning to you and your viewers. I mean, it feels good. We are human beings, and we are competitive. But this is not about me winning, because in the impact world, it's not about winning because it's not a competition. It's more of making sure your community, the country, the continent, everything is good. But to be honest, it feels good. And if you check my WhatsApp and my LinkedIn pages, I got a lot of messages that I have to go through. I'm now like a celebrity, and it feels good. But I want to thank Joy News for this wonderful platform. I've never received any award in my life as a civilian, but in the military, I've received a lot of awards. But as a civilian, I've never received any award, not even in my primary school, JHS or whatever. So, this one feels good. My first award on an international level. Thank you.
And what do you see this award bringing to the work you do in the areas where you operate?
Oh, it's going to bring a lot of exposure. It's already, like I said, I've about 1,000 WhatsApp messages that I have to reply. Some of the numbers, I don't know, maybe old contact, LinkedIn messages. And when you apply for grant or for help or for anything, people want to see if you are credible. So for Joy News to put me on this platform, and if you go on my Joy Online, my article, yesterday I was a top story, Raymond Amazado
wins overall, impact maker. It's a big platform. So I know it's going to open some doors, and I'm also going to use it as a key to open more doors for my community, for Ghana, for the children that I work for.
I mean, when I heard the things you do, I was motivated myself. I was like, wow, I love to do things for my community, but someone is way much higher. What keeps you going? What keeps you doing the things you do?
Personally, when I want to share a personal story. When I got out of the U.S. military, I have to go into a mental institution, not because I was crazy, but I have to refund myself because after I've been to many wars and stuff like that. So this thing to me is more of therapy, because you have to continue some kind of a mission. I've been doing it before, I joined the U.S. Army, but this thing to me is a personal therapy. When I go out there and I serve my community, the problems that we solved, when you come to my area, we are the to-go organization in the area because we don't really have any other organization. For example, if a kid has a problem of dropping out of school, people come to me, hey, you got to make sure this person is in school. There was a case where a gentleman was selling alcohol and was using her teenage daughter to offer as a sex tool so that people can buy alcohol. We have to go there and solve the problem. So, to me, solving this problem gives me joy. It's a therapy for me that after the military, I have some mission to accomplish. Other than that, I'll be like my friends who are back in America, back on the street. Some of them are homeless, not because they don't have the hope, because they cannot reintegrate into community. Thank you.
That's okay. So for such friends who probably may be watching you now, what advice do you have for them?
Well, even a few weeks ago, I had somebody that was connected to me through the University of Ghana to do some community project. And when we talked, he was also doing something for a university in America. He was in the army. And he said, because he has to travel around the world and try to impact communities, that is where he feels that he's continuing his mission in the military. So for my friends who maybe may see it online and stuff like that, don't give up on yourself because you are not serving the military. Find a mission, something that gives you enough fulfillment so that you will not be struggling with mental health and stuff like that. And to all the viewers out there, mental health is real, that we need to look at it and help people. Because if you look on the street of Ghana right now, there's a lot of mad people on the street. In Ghana, when I was growing up, you see one or two, and right now people are going through a lot of stuff. So me using my nonprofit work to give myself therapy, I think people out there need help as well. And and the work continues. This is a great platform to be seen around the world. So I'll use it to continue the work. Thank you.
Wow, impressive. Do you have plans of expanding from where you are?
So when I got nominated for this award, they have to kind of tailor it somehow. But I don't work only in Kisema and Umble community area. We just, in collaboration with the Volta regional minister, we just opened a library in a village called Poviaji in the Volta region. I've done great work in Gumwa East, where A+ is now the MP. I used to have a juvenile league over there. I've done projects in Bono East, Longoro. We have a project called Coach the Coaches, where we bring community football coaches and turn them into impact workers. So for now, my main concentration is in my area, the Kisema area, but I've done works across Ghana, and we are trying to build capacity so that we can impact more children. But we also like to work with community partners. So today, like Portia like this, we are going to work on some projects together, and some other impact makers who are doing great, amazing work over there. We are going to partner with them so that we are not trying to conquer Ghana, but we are trying to work strategically with community organizations because they know their community better.
May I extend, an invite to you to consider Ahanta West for us? We also have very deprived communities that need a lot of support. So please, if you consider any other district, do add Ahanta West. We're in the Western region. Add us to your list so that we can benefit from your benevolence, sir.
If you promise me that you will work with me together, I promise you we can start today because I prefer people who are passionate about the community to work with them. If you are passionate about your own community, you put in the work. I can talk to people, I can talk to my volunteers, I can talk to my staff, my partners, so that we can come to your community. But I need somebody like yourself that has a bigger platform and that is willing to serve your people. Why not? I'm ready.
Okay, then you have it. Because as I speak to you, we are putting up 2 washrooms in 2 schools. And so already I'm doing something. So as for that partnership and as for that guarantee, I can give you that. So let's start talking after here and see how we can impact people in the Ahanta West as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm in.
Okay. But what should people expect of Raymond Senyo Amezado after here?
After here, it's like winning a national, like it's not like you've won a national or international award because Joy News is watched all over the world and people expect more from you. So this morning I'm going to have a strategic meeting with my staff and my volunteers. After that, we plan of going to some of our partners to thank them, show them the award for what they are doing for us. And then after planning, we want to build capacity to do more work. When I was listening to some of the work that my colleagues are doing, they are doing amazing work. And it's good that we are a struggling organization, don't get me wrong, but we also have partnership with France Volontaire, which is a branch of the French Embassy, AFS, University of Ghana, and all those people. So we can see how we can work hard, mobilize more resources to share with our colleagues that I had the opportunity to win the award with.
Okay, quite interesting and very, very inspirational. So, let me bring you Portia Dumba here. Portia, so for you, what is the future looking like? What do we have to expect from you from the Impact Makers Awards?
Okay, so I would say that they should expect more because we are going to do more projects, try to partner with other people to make sure that the impact is not only limited in where I find myself, even though now we do a lot in different communities, but we're going to do a lot. Even as I speak, I think last year we piloted a program in Solar District, which is the Black Girls in the Lead program, B Guild. And then this year, as I speak to you, I'm still in the process of implementing the phase 2 with an international organization, which is Sisters Keepers. And what we do is that we empower young girls to identify social problems in the community, and these young girls find innovative solutions to the problem where they are awarded. Those with innovative ideas get awarded. And last year we had people from my village winning $1,000, laptop, tablets. And this year that same program is happening. Even I can remember one of a girl was working on school dropout, and at the end of her project, she was able to send 10 dropouts. This is a 13-year-old girl I'm talking about. So we're going to continue to do such projects in the community. And I also spoke about the tree planting. And before the year end, myself and my team will make sure that we plant the 3,000 seedlings we're going to get from Global Share Alliance. And also we have partnership with Sisters Keepers where we are building a 3-classroom block because I mentioned that my school, we have only 3 classrooms which contain 6 grades. So meaning P1, P2 is in one class, 3 and 4 in one class, 5 and 6 in one class. But by close of next 2 months, we'll be able to get another 3-classroom block, which means that each grade will get a class. And I know I'm going to get more people who want to support this impact work. So we get different dexes and all the things that we need in the school to make sure that these kids that are in the rural community will also benefit because they are all part of the future leaders. And aside that, on the women that I work with, one of our plans is to make sure that the share industry is very attractive for them and the work is less. But as we speak to you, we do more of manual work. We machines and all, but still I try to motivate and encourage them. And as a way of trying to make the work flexible, I've been able to secure land, of which we are trying to put a structure, get machines, and all these need resources. So I know this is a bigger platform, and people will be collaborating, partnering to make sure that we make this lucrative, we make this simple. Because if a woman is supposed to produce a ton of shea butter and it's taking her for like 3 months, meanwhile, when she gets a machine, she can use like a week to do it. What do you think will make this woman go and cut the tree? So there's a lot of projects that will be coming up, and then I'm calling on our partners or collaborators to come on board to make sure that we make this a reality.
Oshadumba, I'm proud of you, and I know Ghana is proud of you. Congrats once again, and all the best in the years to come.
Thank you.
So Portia Dumba there is an education advocate, and you heard me speak to Mr. Amezado. He is the overall winner of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards 2025. Well, congrats to all the award winners, and congrats again to all the nominees. This serves a lesson that whatever you're doing to make life better in your own community, don't consider it to be small. Just keep doing it. And one day, just one day, the right recognition will come for you. So keep doing your best. Let's all together help our communities, because that's how we can become relevant to being here on earth. After all, when you're not here, how will people remember you? Just by you being part of those who left? No. You have to be remembered for something. So do something to help your community. Well, just before I bounce off, are you looking for a home in a prime location? Nesters Homes has got you covered. Our properties in Tema Community 26, just behind Palace Mall, offer a serene atmosphere. And not just that, but you also have easy access to transportation routes and social amenities. Off-plan prices start at USD 35,000. So you just have to do that comparison, conversion, and go there and get yourself one. Contact us today on 0531 014440 or 0531 014447. You can also visit our website at www.nestes.com.gh. That's it there. Ghana, let's talk water tanks now. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the torches on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. Rain or shine, Syntex tank has your back. So, my people, go outside and check your tank. And if it doesn't have a tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call 0244 335 168 to buy now, or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough. This is the AM show. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. Please do stay.
Welcome back to the AM show. It's time now for us to get into our big stories. We told you that we have an exclusive interview for you, and this is it now. From the corridors of global boardrooms to the front lines of Africa's industrial agenda, my guest this morning is a globally respected authority on strategic sourcing, industrial procurement, and so many other things. He's one of the few experts who draws a direct line between procurement decisions and national development, showing how what we buy, from whom we buy, and how we buy can either build nations or bleed them. Today on the AM show, we unpack what Ghana must do to turn procurement and logistics into powerful tools for transformation and not just transactions. My guest is Professor Douglas Boateng. Prof, welcome to the program.
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
I found myself reading a lot on strategic sourcing, procurement, supply chain, in my quest to understand what it is you do, because you say that our approach, and by our, I mean Ghana and so many other African countries, treating procurement and supply chain as a transactional function of government is the reason why we are not as great as we can be. So it is pivotal to our development. And I ended up with more questions than answers, so I'm glad you are here. So let's start with a definition of what you do. How do you respond to the question of what do you do?
Okay, thank you very much. For me, it's about basically trying to create awareness why we should move from just buying to strategically sourcing from our own. Gone are the days when we just buy. When I was in South Africa, well, I'm still there, I realized that, you know, we've de-industrialized ourselves through our buying behaviors. I mean, my claim to fame in South Africa was for studying women's underwear. Obviously, those that wear underwear.
Yeah.
And I realized that, I mean, let me just ask you a question. Do you know the underwear you're wearing, where it's from?
I doubt that, yeah.
The socks. I see a lot of the gentlemen in here, they all have socks on. They don't know where it's from. We are creating more jobs outside the continent than within because of our buying behavior. We just buy. When you go to the shops, you see that there are so many made in outside the continent. That is on the shops. But our buying patterns, we don't really look at where it's coming from. And I encourage our fellow brothers and mothers from another mother in South Africa. We look at, start basically checking out when you go to the shops, when you are buying, just not buy for yourself. Look at the implications for the generations to come. As a child, I remember there was Akasanoma, Thomas, but they've all gone because we are not driven by generational thinking, short-term, price-fixing behaviors. So we just buy. Why are we importing tomatoes, canned tomatoes? We had Exeter, it's all gone. Because we are not strategically sourcing, we are just buying, using price as a benchmark, and it doesn't work.
So let's start there, from strategic sourcing.
Yes.
Before this, preparing for this conversation, I thought it was just a procurement jargon. But I think that's what you're saying is the problem.
Yes.
So let's break it down. Exactly what is strategic sourcing, and why should the ordinary Ghanaian be concerned?
Strategic sourcing is basically knowing what you are buying, where is it from, who is it by, and what is the implication for tomorrow. Because if you just base your buying decisions on price, you are de-industrializing your own country. That is why a lot of companies in Ghana, in the rest of the continent, therefore collapsed because we are too price sensitive. And our friends, obviously, in China saw that opportunity and they came in. So in China, they will tell you this is cheap, this is very expensive. But in most cases, Africans, we go for the cheap ones. And then we don't even do what is called total cost of ownership, whereby we need to look at what is the implications of what you are buying. When you buy cheap, you keep buying.
But, that thing you just said, total cost of ownership, is it not because of our laws? I mean, we prioritize lowest evaluated prices. When you are, during bidding and tendering for, projects and contracts, of course, pricing is very, pivotal to deciding who gets the contract. And almost always about who can do it for less, no?
That is the reason why I've been advocating for the change in Act 663, because it's not helping locals. And in most cases, we can't even compete, anyway. So there has to be a change so that it can help with the empowerment of locals, because it's not always about price. And sometimes when you go for competitive bidding and it's driven by price, you disenfranchise the locals. And so our SMMEs, and are you aware that government spent over 70% goes outside the country because we can't compete? And the big players obviously have the muscle to undercut, which doesn't help our local industries.
When you were a board chairman of PPA, did you try to, materialize this amendment you talk about,
Oh, yes.
Act 663?
Oh, yes.
How did that pan out?
The machine moves very slowly.
Okay.
Yes, but at least there's the awareness right now, and it's just a matter of time. It's going to help. I also push for women empowerment, because I believe that if you empower women, you empower a community. And we really need to push that agenda, because women are over 50% of the continent. But when it comes to the financial muscle, leaves a lot to be desired.
Recent Auditor General reports have revealed significant procurement irregularities. In fact, the figure I see right now is about 1.8 billion Ghana cedis lost in 2022 alone due to these same procurement irregularities. And if you go and investigate, you find so much more than this. Would you say that we are paying the price for treating procurement as a transactional function rather than a way that governments and countries can thrive?
It's definitely transactional, and I believe it needs to be strategic, because when it's strategic, it ends up with being part of the policy framework. Right now, it's like it's in a back room. It doesn't work. US, Europe, now South Africa, they are really pushing the procurement agenda. It's back on the boardroom table. When you look at Ghana, how many procurement practitioners are even on the board? Because they don't really see the strategic aspect. It's all driven by finance, and I've always maintained that procurement and finance, there's a conflict of interest.
What is the conflict of interest?
Basically, you can't be the referee and also the player. You decide to sign the check, and then you also regulate who you buy from. It doesn't work. So there has to be some change. Procurement and PPA, I believe, should not be reporting to finance.
So what does the ideal framework look like?
It has to be independent so that they can drive procurement from a strategic perspective, not from a transactional, short-term thinking, enemy of long-term growth. Because it's driven by transactions. We buy for tomorrow, not generational thinking. Procurement is the core for development because the way you buy has implications. When you collect taxes, and you basically use it to spend, and the money goes out of your country, it needs to circulate. We are not using that.
And you're saying it's because procurement is, the enterprise is not led by experts, people who have a more strategic approach to it, rather than just someone who perhaps a new administration wants to reward and puts that person in position. Is that what it is?
Well, I wouldn't say they reward by putting the... Look, there are square pegs in round holes.
Okay.
Yes, and the pegs in round holes have implications. But we need to elevate procurement to the board level as much as possible, and also it needs to be professionalized. There has to be an act regulated. Anybody can become a procurement practitioner. Can we just get up and become a medical practitioner? No, it has to change. So I've been advocating for that with the support of the PPA. And even the government, the current government, is also looking at that, which is a very, very positive sign. Previous date, the act was going to be passed, but unfortunately there was a change. Government which delayed. But both governments, the political parties, they see the need for there to be some professionalization of procurement, which would obviously help with the economic emancipation. We have political emancipation, but there has to be an economic one, and that one is a bit slow. But slow progress is better than no progress.
So you think we are making progress?
We are making progress. It's a bit slow, but we are in the right direction.
Okay.
The resetting the clock agenda is all part of the strategic intent of, I believe, the current administration.
Why do you think we are still struggling with adding value to our raw materials before exporting? Despite some gains made, we still export cocoa beans, gold in raw form. What structural barriers do you see or do you think is the reason why, as we speak, in this 2025, Ghana is unable to refine its exports and make the most out of it? What are the barriers there?
The unfortunate reality we face right now is industrialization. It's not about 4-5 year cycles. It's about generational thinking. And unless, of course, we look beyond the 4 years, we can never industrialize. If you look at the policies of most of the governments since 1970, it's all about, okay, we're planning for the next election. Industrialization takes time. You need to start it off. It's an investment, which takes a while to really start materializing. But every year, every 4 or 5 years in Africa, what basically happens is there's a change, and whatever was started is halted. I looked at the Commander Sugar Factory, and for me, it was very, very sad what happened. If there was long-term thinking, believe you me, this sugar factory was a very good idea. But right now, I've been caught up in all these election cycles and politics. And unfortunately, you know, we've all seen what has happened.
So should multinationals be compelled to source locally? Because often we are in a hurry to give them the raw materials and they go and find skilled labor and everything else and refine it outside. So when they come to us, should we compel them to source locally for the, you know, the skilled experts, the people who can add the value and do everything here before they take it outside and go and sell? You see, is that a way to go, you think?
It is, but you see, in life, if you don't know what you want, somebody will decide for you what you want or what you need. In our case, do we have the framework? Is it tight enough to encourage the multinationals to source locally? For me, from an objective point of view, we haven't. And it's because of this 4-year industrialization cycles instead of generational industrialization cycles. We need to decide what is it that we want. China plans 50 years. We plan 5 years.
Well, we have the National Development Plan. We have so many plans, you know, of how we think Ghana should be and look and how we govern in the next decade or so. But it never really amounts to much. I mean, so is it a problem that the plan is not as good as it should be, or it's just, like we always say, implementation and enforcement problems?
It's more the implementation and enforcement, because our plans, some African countries have taken it and made it work for them. It's all about implementation and having the willpower and determination. Say that what I've started, I am going to see it through. In our case, we started, but do we really see it through? So we need to really be determined. As a country, as I said, we're making progress. It might be slow, but we're making progress. And there has to be the determination to think beyond the 4 or 5 year cycles and really push things. What I've seen is that a lot of projects, brilliant projects, starts off. Then after 4 or 5 years, new government comes in, and then this whole thing is virtually suspended, which is rather unfortunate. And then other African countries will pick it up, and then they will go and implement it. A lot of the things that are happening in Rwanda, even in South Africa, some of the ideas originated from here. I've seen it.
So share some with us. I know that you're Africa's first appointed professor extraordinaire in supply chain and procurement and all that. So what have you seen in other African countries, perhaps the idea might have generated from Ghana, that you think we should be emulating at this point, which should be like the catalyst to speed up our quest for industrialization? What have you seen?
Let's take simple examples, juices, and even avocado in Limpopo, South Africa. Now they are going to convert avocado into cosmeceuticals. We've been pushing the agenda in terms of, you know, they have 3% of the global market. Let's convert it. Let's not just export the raw avocado. So watch the space. Within the next 10 years, you will see what is going to happen to the avocado market in South Africa. Condoms. In 2011, at the height of COVID, I was walking around the shops in Santin and I realized that, why are we importing Durex from the UK? So I started to make noises about it. Today, over 70% of the condoms used in South Africa is produced in South Africa. Now, the socks and the underwear that I spoke about, they are now producing some, slowly. Now, the next step is create awareness. Made in Africa, produced in South Africa, so that you can expand your market reach. The sad reality in our continent is that we have these artificial borders that is separating us. So when you say made in Ghana, made in South Africa, you know, already you are creating the barrier. So as
compared to made in Europe.
Made in Europe. Yes, and I'm saying let's do made in Africa, but produced. The last 3 weeks or so, I think I posted something on cranberry. We grow cranberry in Ghana, and then it's exported to South Africa to be produced into cranberry juice.
And we buy cranberry juice.
And we buy cranberry juice. Yeah. These are some of very simple things that we can really use to industrialize. You don't really need big ticket items to industrialize. You know, so we can do it. By the way, people confuse industrialization with big factories. No. tourism industry can be industrialized. Industrialization is about adding value within the value chain. Tourism, education. My dream is Ghana could become the educational hub for the education industry. It's big, and we can really focus on possibly the idea of educating professionals, CEOs in governance in Ghana. Why should we always be flying to the United States, to the UK? Didn't we go to school with them? Why can't we do it here? The money stays in the continent rather than exporting all the money. We as a continent are the biggest exporters of currency. We go and buy, and now even human capital, our people are living. So we are exporting not just cocoa, also human capital.
So we've set the tone of what strategic sourcing is, and you've sort of identified some of the gaps and how it is not auguring well for our development agenda in terms of industrialization. But also it seems like it's a policy issue. We don't have the right policies, or even if we have the policies, we don't enforce them. Do you think this is something Parliament should take over in terms of enforcing or legislating procurement quotas? Should Parliament step in and say that we are not importing, for example, socks anymore, so we sort of source locally manufactured source? Is that something that we should look at holistically from Parliament, like legislative backing for
I believe
industrialization?
You're right, Madam Sweetie. I believe we should not be apologetic stopping certain things. Why should we be allowing people to import toothpick? It doesn't make sense to me. Why should we look at the Akosombo textiles? Why shouldn't government say, okay, all schools you'll be wearing, textiles from Akosombo textiles? We should not be apologetic about these things, because if we decide to open up. I'm not against competition, but it has to be a level playing field. We have to force some issues. The world will complain, but it doesn't matter. It is in our own interest. That is where I talk about generational thinking. Because if we do not enforce certain things, Akosombo Textiles is in trouble. Why? But you know how many people, the kids that wear school attire, you give that market, or even 80% to our Akosombo Textiles, you sustain it. But if we don't do that, and everything is to do with competition, it's not a level playing field. I know, I've traveled the world, and I know it's not a level playing field. You know, what the US is trying to do, I mean, I have my issues with we all know who he is, but...
Trump, you mean?
Yes, the Trump. But he wants to correct the anomaly, whereby so dependent on another country, which is China. China is very smart, and I take my hat off to what China has managed to achieve in the last 40 years. Now, we have also become too dependent on external entities. We need to try and find a creative way of reversing that. And the only way you reverse that is to be unapologetic about protecting certain industries until they are capable of competing. Right now, a lot of our industries, they cannot compete, companies. So we are stuck. And we do not have policies to even promote our own. I mean, we all enjoy what is called Face the Wall. We all enjoy there's a breakfast cereal which we make Ekwegbemi, and then the one for kids.
Cerelac, I think?
No, not Cerelac. Tom Brown.
Oh, right, okay.
Tom Brown. Are you aware Tom Brown has one of the most nutritional elements in it for, not just for kids, but for all of us? But we don't promote it.
Many Ghanaians believe that imported goods are superior. And so if you are presented with the option of Tom Brown packaged from some European country versus the one that's, Atamame from the back there has not done for you, you definitely go for the one that is well packaged from Europe.
Yes.
Where do we start to reorient the Ghanaian to start patronizing the ones that have been made here? But it's also because we don't make it attractive enough, I think.
Exactly.
You hear people talk about Ghana rice, and then you go and buy Ghana rice, and in truth, it just doesn't taste as good as the foreign rice.
Okay.
Or is it a matter of an acquired taste?
It's an acquired taste, and also it's the mindset. When you have in-your-face marketing, the media, that's where the role of the media.
Okay, let's talk about that.
When the media really start aggressively marketing our local products, the mindset will start changing. The acquired taste will start coming. People will start accepting this product. Right now, we don't do that. We know cornflakes. We don't know Tom Brown. We know Weetabix. We don't know Tom Brown. And I know Tom Brown is good for the body. Now, unless we start basically aggressively marketing or creating our own brands through women, we are not going anywhere.
You don't think we're doing enough in that regard?
No. Because let me give you a simple example. What made Gucci powerful is women.
The way they were done, the bag and the dresses, yeah.
Fendi, Dior, it's all women. And women are the mothers. So the power of the woman says Tom Brown is good. Women appear on TV, radio, talks about the nutritional benefits. See, the mindset will start changing and we will start, appreciating what we have. Right now, we don't. We would rather go for cornflakes. The nutritional value in cornflakes we all know, rather than Tom Brown.
So in terms of using this way of thinking and approach to buying what we buy and how we buy and where we buy from, how can we use this to confront governance, corruption, policy failures, and the rest? Because when you look at so many, controversial, did I call them sagas? You have the JIDA, ambulance. There are so many scandals that come out, and at the root of it is procurement, right? How do we use this way of thinking? How can Ghana reform its systems to curb, especially systemic corruption, using this approach, this way of seeing procurement, not just as a transactional function, but a way of governance? How do we start to use that to change our narratives with corruption?
The root cause of a lot of these unfortunate realities that we are faced with, it's not necessarily procurement, it's greed. Greed. And our society has become so materialistic. They want to be rich like yesterday. That doesn't work. And it all comes down to the mindset. We all have a turn in life. We need to find a way of making the youth be appreciative of the fact that you have to go through a process. You have to grow. You can't get everything overnight. Procurement is an issue, but not the procurement practitioners that, do these infractions. A lot of it comes from outside. So we need to work on the mindset that there are implications of certain things. We've become too materialistic. The morality in society, we are losing it, and we need to go back to basics.
Prof, I believe there's the moral arguments we can make,
yes.
But then there's also the structural, systemic, safeguards we can have,
yes.
in order that nobody can just get up and go and give a contract to somebody, and
yes.
then 10, 15 years later,
yes.
we're asking questions that we should have asked in the beginning.
Yes.
So is there room? Can your way of seeing procurement and supply chain actually hold space for our quest to eradicate corruption, even if not completely, reduce some of the scandals that we keep grappling with? Is there space for that?
There is space for that if people are prepared to take responsibility and be accountable. Right now in our system, unfortunately, when it comes to accountability, we all know what happens. People should be held responsible for what they are supposed to do. And unless that happens, we are going to have these issues in terms of, okay, I know I can get away with it. But it should not be a witch hunt. It should be based on facts. It should be based on, yes, you've committed this, I've got the proof that you did this thing wrong. Therefore, you are going to be held accountable and be prosecuted. Unless we start inculcating that in society, people think they can get away with it. They will still continue to do that.
I've heard others say it's a leadership problem from the very top to the grassroots. But specifically when it comes to state-owned enterprises, the leadership, they're the ones who sometimes look on, twiddle their thumbs while things are happening under them.
Yeah.
In fact, let's take a listen to Yao Nsako. He's former director for Global, you know him, yes, Unilever. He has something to say on that, and then I'll come back to you. Let's listen to him.
That gets infected by extreme partisanship is a recipe for social disaster. Yet the trends point in that direction for us. We who once managed continuity in senior civil service positions, even through coup regimes, now change almost everyone in civilian transitions. CEOs of SOE, service commanders, high commissioners, boards, now even handlers of public toilets and markets. If trends continue as they are, we may someday ominously enter an era of every new president appointing a new chief justice, new government statistician, new auditor general, new electoral commissioner, and God save us, new president of the Academy of Arts and Sciences.
So there you have it, Yao Nsako, and this is what he's saying. From the toilet operator to the top of government and all, it appears we have to start rethinking our approach. But let's reflect on what he said.
That's the reality. Because of the unfortunate relatively lack of generational thinking, it's more driven by election thinking. What happens is, you know, because of the fact that we become so politicized, partisan, there has to be a reward. That doesn't build nations, you know, because you come, my people come, you go, your people go.
And the kickbacks.
The kickbacks.
Kickbacks.
Yes, it doesn't work. Now, I know President Mahama means well. He's trying his best. President Akufo-Addo came, tried his best. But we need to think generational. What the trees that we are planting today is not for us. It's for the generations to come. And if you keep chopping and changing, it doesn't work. The bad ones, the bad apples needs to be rooted out. But the good ones, let them continue. Because at the end of the day, we all benefit. I mean, sometimes I feel very sad and unfortunate that we are Ghanaians first, before all this politics. So let's think Ghana. Let's not think, okay, my party has to come into power. And you know the sad reality now. One gets in, the one that goes out is sitting there and praying for the one that is in to fail so that they can come. How do you build society with that mindset? It has to change. And it's up to us as the people to change it.
I want to believe that there was a time in this country where we were thinking generational, like you're talking about. We're very patriotic. Because when I read our history, it sounds like Ghanaians were, you know, approaching governance, democracy with a united voice. They wanted self-reliance, and everyone was, you know, for the call. Where did the breakdown start to happen? I'll circle back to SMEs and opportunities under the African Continental Free Trade Area because we should be wrapping up. But where did the decay begin from, Prof?
Materialism. Materialism.
Yeah.
That is what caused the gradual breakdown in our patriotic nature, materialism.
Right. I mean, you don't need to say further.
Yes.
So now, despite hosting the AFTA Secretariat, I don't think Ghana has actually gotten much benefits from the African Continental Free Trade Area. And you're talking about reorienting or changing how we approach procurement and the rest. If we do that, if we reorient how we treat procurement, which areas can we dominate as Ghana?
In terms of industry? In
terms of industrialization.
For me, I see healthcare. Healthcare is an industry.
Here in Ghana?
Oh, yes. Because you see, even our West African neighbors, a lot of them come here. Education. You go to Legon, you see a lot of them here. These are industries that we can. Cosmeceuticals, nutraceuticals, you know, the alomo bitters of this world, it can be packaged and it can go global. I mean, coconut oil, avocados. These are all products that we can quite easily, with long-term thinking, governments should support invest in these. Let's not go for big, simple. We all have to eat. We all have to bathe. We all have to educate. These are all opportunities that we can. Tourism, we can be very big. Education, believe you me, and healthcare, we can. These are all industries that we can really focus on.
I'm struggling to see how we can dominate healthcare because most of our leaders would rather fly out to seek medical care than look to our doctors within the country. I've had a very scary experience. A few weeks or so ago, I was ill, and they kept treating the symptoms. At some point, I got really scared. It took a pharmacist to diagnose that you just need, a pill.
Yes.
Instead, they were giving me drips. I was getting weaker. And so I'm saying that I don't see how Ghana can dominate the healthcare. Convince me otherwise. Because of the failures in the system already, and how my own personal experiences, and many people will tell you that they are scared to go to the hospital because, some of the lab technicians can't even interpret what it is that they're seeing on the paper. It's scary, no?
I hear you, but where there's a will, there's always a way. And if there's a policy that within 15, 20 years, we are going to be seeing as the must-go-to country if we want healthcare, at least from our over 300 million ECOWAS population, we will be able to do it. Rome was not built in a day. It's just having the confidence and determination. When I see what is happening in China, I know we can also do it. What is happening in Rwanda, we can do it. South Africa has its challenges, but the transformation happening in certain sectors, and I've witnessed it in the last 25 years, it gives me a lot of hope. Ghana can become a beacon of hope. Tourism, for healthcare, for education. Over $500 million every year is spent on people going outside the continent. Nigeria spends a lot of money. They are comfortable with us. God has blessed us with very humble people, Ghanaians, and people are drawn to us. They will come if they see value. Yes, our politicians, our leaders sometimes go to Europe and increasingly South Africa, at least the money is staying in the continent. Healthcare. But what we need to do is to have a strategic plan that within 20 years, by 2035, we want to be seen as the number one for at least the sub-region. It's all about having a vision.
Yeah.
It's all about having an implementation plan. The question is the vision, but do we have the implementation plan? The right people to be able to implement the vision.
We have to go, but I want to squeeze in this issue because unemployment is a big one. And more often than not, you hear that it's not because there are no jobs, it's because we don't have skilled people to meet the requirements of the job. So for example, we have so many engineers and local innovators who are underutilized because we don't have industry to absorb them. Meanwhile, we have jobs that we don't have the people that, people with the technical know-how to fill those spaces. Should procurement budgets include dedicated funds for innovation pilots? And I'm asking because I know Kenya reserves 30% of procurement for youth and women. In Ghana, well, you know the story. Is that something we can emulate? And how can we start to change that as well? So that the graduates we're churning out can come out and create something for themselves, or the industries that are popping up can actually find the skills they need to flourish.
There has to be stronger collaboration between industry and academia. That is what, unfortunately, is missing in our beloved country. And one of the strategic plans which I have is to try and bridge that gap. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It takes time. It's like a factory. You produce things that the market don't need. Eventually, what happens? Collapse. That's why I'm saying education is also an industry. We need to find a way of the products that are coming out, the graduates, they have to be fit for purpose. Right now, there's a disconnect between industry and academia. We're producing so many engineers, but engineers to do what? There has to be some collaboration. We need to be sitting down every 3 years. Where are we going as a country? Do we want to go into nuclear medicine? And what is the skills required? Do we want to become the hub for tourism? What are the skills required? Do we want to be seen as the hub for cosmeceuticals? What are the skills required? So that we can keep changing the curriculum to create what is called fit for purpose products that will come out and serve industry. Right now, how many times have we changed the curriculum since 1970? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves as Ghanaians. We can't always wait for leadership. We also, as patriotic citizens, we should not be what? Spectators. We
should be citizens, not spectators.
Yes.
My final question, this time I mean it.
Yeah.
Businesses cite energy costs, port delays, road network inefficiencies, and the list goes on as key challenges. And I mean, these are realistic supply chain-based issues. Some of them, supply chain, strategic supply sourcing can fix these problems. So the question, I guess, is, just so we can sum it up quickly, should industrial zones be restructured as supply chain hubs?
It is possible. But when you are restructuring these things, what is the vision?
Comes down to vision, huh?
Vision. Where do you want to go? It's like setting off on a journey. And then halfway through, you said, but where am I going? We need to have the end goal in mind. And then we work towards it. These energy crises, it's not new. We all knew it was coming. You cannot industrialize without energy. So 15, 20 years ago, we should have been thinking, where are we going? Are we going hydro, nuclear, or even ocean wave technology? And then solar. And then we start planning towards that.
What would be your assessment of how we are approaching the energy sector? I mean, we are crippled with debt. There's also issues about, revenue collection and so many things in terms of the energy sector. Do you think that, are you hopeful the way we are approaching this, there's a time will come and we will not be coming back to doomsday and energy crisis, debt and all that?
The engagement has started, which for me is positive. At least when you realize that there's a problem, that's a very good start. So the engagement has started, and the next year or so, I'll be hoping to see, a plan of action. They can't solve this problem. The current government cannot solve this problem within 4 years. No, it's going to take time. I know the sector, and I know it cannot be solved in 4 years.
Fortunately, this administration will begin a plan. The next one comes, and because they want to take credit for whatever it is,
and then
they start all over.
I hope it doesn't happen, because enough is enough, and the citizens are now fed up with this stop-go type of development. It's not working for us. And the politicians also suffer. They should always remember that they were citizens before they became politicians. And then they will come back to join us. They should always remember.
So much for joining us this morning.
I appreciate your time.
I want to give you 1 minute to give us a wrap of your thoughts on exactly how you think that supply chain, procurement, strategic sourcing can be the pivot or the catalyst for our development agenda. There's a camera right there.
Okay. My fellow Africans, I believe that we have reached a tipping point whereby we really need to reflect on ourselves. Without supply chain management, without procurement, we are going nowhere. Please, let's not think Ghanaian. As an unapologetic Pan-Africanist, think African. Your market is 1.3 billion people. When you think Ghanaian, your market is only 33 at best million people. We need to think generational. We need to think that somebody did it for us. We can also do it. The skill sets are there. Let's stop putting square pegs in round holes, because at the end of the day, we all suffer. Please, the future looks good. Our best is still ahead of us. Stay inspired, and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Professor Douglas Boateng there, social entrepreneur, and globally respected authority on strategic sourcing, industrial procurement, and supply chain transformation, and Africa's very first appointed professor extraordinaire in supply chain, procurement, and everything in that sector. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, are you ready? Before I go, I have a question to ask. Are you ready to dream, dare, and deliver in the world of IT? Then look no further than Jackson Institute of Technology. It is the only NIIT authorized training center in Ghana. At GIT, we provide world-class IT training for individuals and corporate organizations, equipping you with industry-relevant skills in software development, cybersecurity, networking, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and so many more. And we offer globally recognized certifications, practical job-ready training, and flexible hybrid learning options, which allows you to study either online or on-site. Plus, our expert instructors ensure hands-on learning experiences that prepare you for success in today's digital world. And we are conveniently located on the Ring Road, near Circle, in the heart of Accra's Central Business District, and in Kumasi at Jackson Educational Complex headquarters at Ayediase, near KNUST. GIT provides easy access for students and corporate clients, and our state-of-the-art auditorium is also available for corporate events, seminars, and training sessions. Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp message on these numbers, 0596 996 037 or 0596 996 038 or 055 271 4635. You can also visit our website at www.git.edu.gh. GIT, your gateway to a thriving IT career. I'll take a short break. We'll be back with more on the AM Show.
Welcome back to the AM show. Let's have a good interaction with someone who's familiar, we're all familiar with. He is an educationist and someone who attended, let me use the right word, one of the best schools in Ghana.
The best school in Ghana, by far.
Now, we're going to talk about a book launch. You know, the reason why the book launch is so important is because it is celebrating the life and a legacy of someone who paved the way for, all Ghanaians to become or to be heading institutions in, say, the senior high schools, because in those days, it used to be the missionaries and the foreigners who were. But he rose to become the first Ghanaian to head, a secondary school in Ghana. Francis Ludwig Bartels marks a pivotal moment in Ghana's educational history. That's by his book. From his humble beginnings as a student at Mfantsipim School between 1925 and 1928, Mr. Bartels rose through the ranks to become the first African headmaster of Mfantsipim and of any secondary school in the Gold Coast in 1949. His leadership spanned critical years of transition, because from us leaving the colonial masters to post-independence, Ghana and his educational philosophy, discipline and force had laid a lasting foundation for secondary education in Ghana. And you can see that in how the Mfantsipim School has run from when it was formed till today. Beyond the Mfantsipim, Mr. Bartels' vision extended nationwide because he co-founded something that has become very pivotal in Ghana's educational system today. We call it the Conference of Assisted Secondary Schools, or Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools in Ghana, CHAS, and that shaped the academic standards and school leadership across Ghana. Now, after he retired from Mfantsipim, he was then drafted into UNESCO, where he continued to further his impact on global education. Now, today's interview seeks to highlight Mr. Bartels' groundbreaking contributions, his influence on generations of Ghanaian students, and why his legacy remains deeply relevant today. So we called here one student who went through the ranks at Mfantsipim. He is MOBA 66. We call him, he's a disappointed white man, and he's half a high.
From one.
No, today.
Boko. Good.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bartels co-founded CHAS, as a lot more people will get to know today. Now, how did this shape the future of secondary education and school leadership in Ghana?
You know, we have to start with the genesis of Mfantsipim.
Okay.
Mfantsipim started in 1876. So Mfantsipim became a pioneer all the way through. And I think you alluded to the fact that he was the first African principal, headmaster. Before that, there were quite a few other headmasters, but I think they called them principals. Casely Hilford was part of it, Mesa Saba, and the rest of them. Now, what made Bartels exceptional was that by the time that he came on, there were a series of white people who had been the headmasters.
Okay.
But he was lucky enough to have been groomed by one Reverend R.A. Lockhart,
okay,
who was an Irishman, almost a revolutionary, who understood the workings of the imperial government. So right from the beginning, he got students to begin to understand that we need to erupt out of colonialism. So these were the people who made the impact on Bartels. So as a result, Bartels became very exceptional. You know, and again, back to your question, at the time, there were, I would imagine, in 1945, 1947, when Bartels came on the scene, everything was new. You know, so when he introduced CHAS, the idea was, how do we bring all the heads of the secondary schools together? At DeSaldo, Prempeh College, St. Augustine's, Holy Child, Wesley Girls, and that sort of thing. So he was the mover and shaker who set it up so that we can have all the headmasters and headmistresses on the same page. So CHAS is now one of the leading organizations in terms of how we bring all the heads together to path forward as we go along in Ghana's education revolution.
And what enduring values, because you were in that school, did Mr. Bartels live in the school that are still relevant even till today?
You know, that is an excellent question. I'll tell you this. I got to Mfantsipim in September 1961.
Okay.
Bartels had already left. He left in mid-1961 for UNESCO. So when I came, I never met him. but he had been succeeded by Reverend W.G.M. Brandford. But let me tell you the impact that he left in Cape Coast. I mean, those were the days where, you know, on Saturdays, we go to town, you know, and we dress in white shirt, white pants, with a black and white enhancement tie and so on. Now, I also, there were some friends who had also joined us in that group from Kumasi. You know, we've never been to Cape Coast before. We had no idea what Cape Coast looked like. Now, as we were walking on the pavement towards some women, I heard one of them point to us and said, "Hey, but that's the man no." You know what I mean? I mean, as a teenager, that really, it shakes you. That who is this man who has made such an impact that even as you walk down the street and spotting the enhancement tire, there was some connection because he had made his mark. Now, when that happens to a teenager, guess what? You tend to walk a lot taller. You stretch your chest out, you know, and you begin to see that you need to be dignified in your own right. Yeah. Even whether you deserve it or not, someone had set the pace. So that's how, to answer your question, that's the impact that he made right from the beginning. That in the community of learners, in Cape Coast at least, he was outstanding. And he wasn't a tall man. Okay. He was maybe about 5'6", 5'7", but he had stature and a personality. So that anytime you walk through Cape Coast, like I said, you are recognized through him. And that is how a leader makes an impact. So that, and he wasn't in Cape Coast at the time. He had gone. Like I said, this was in September. He had gone somewhere in April or May, but his impact was there. Okay. Now that is power. These are some of the things that, that's why the book is important. Because what he has done is that and the other thing we have to also recommend him for is that he always documented his experiences. You know, these days we tend to do whatever and then we forget about it, as if they were not important. But Bartels was different. He documented everything that he did. Okay. His challenges, his successes, the way forward, and that made all the impact. Now, as I speak to you, I think he's written about 4 or 5 books detailing his experiences. So the importance of the book is that there are others who are new to this business. I'm talking about new in terms that they are younger. You know, Bartels lived to be over 100 years. But every step of the way, what he made sure he did was to set the landmarks so that younger people can begin, younger teachers, heads, students can begin to emulate his best examples. And that's why we're here. You know, but before he died, he had written the transcripts of this book. Okay. You know, it wasn't finished yet. So the idea was that we, as in France old boys, what is it that we can do to make sure that the man lives, even in death? So what we did was that we, in France film, some of the heads in France film, Dr. Couture, Senior Boy Sando, Captain Fojo, and Moses Baden, we put our minds together to have the transcript rewritten, and it was edited by one of the staunch head prefects at the time, by the name of Walker. Now he's called Sechuotu. He edited the book, made sure that the transcripts and the references were together, and finally, we've been able to come out to this book, and I'm so proud of it. Okay. You know, now and the other thing I also want to add is this: we see Headmaster Bartels as just a headmaster, but he was a literary giant. I mean, his language. You know, these are the things that have to be taught in our schools. That we don't merely have to begin to parrot what others have done who are not Ghanaians. We have people who are Ghanaians who have established a niche for themselves. So these books have to be taught in our schools for us to emulate some of the best examples of some of the best headmasters that ever lived.
As you say, they have to be taught in our schools. What kind of lessons do you think teachers of today, especially policymakers, should be, you know, getting out of this book?
That's a good one, huh? The first now says discipline. In other words, who are you? What are you here for? What is it that makes you exemplary? What is the work that you were born to do? Bartels identified all that. So for us, I'm looking at teachers where that now begin to understand how we can begin to instill discipline. You know, now Bartels didn't speak much. His presence made all the difference because he himself was exemplary, the way he carried himself. And then the other thing I will also add is this. For some reason, right from the beginning, he knew he was going to be a great educator. So he made sure that he himself was very educated. And then from the conviction and what education meant for him, that's the same thing that he wanted to pass on to the younger people. So back to your question again, we cannot take education for granted, because when parents have presented their awards to you for you to groom them a certain way, that is a great expectation, but you can't give what you don't have. So the idea is this: how do I prepare myself sufficiently? One as a teacher, one as a head, one as a head of instruction and the headmaster, and then ask yourself, how polished have I become? How knowledgeable have I become? Because now we have to begin to present the best that you have to other people. This is what we need in education right now, because we are molding character. So the element of character was so important to Bartels. So he himself, his life was exemplary in terms of how he perceived himself, in terms of how he perceived the vocation that had been entrusted to him and so on. So back to your question again, it's very, very important. There are a lot of young people who have come into the system. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are great people who have passed through the process. We have to recognize them and then make sure that we can emulate them in very substantial ways.
I'm tempted to ask whether how he impacted you to become the sort of educationist you've become.
Anytime I talk about Headmaster Bartels, I get good bumps. I communicated a lot with him. And when his first book came out, the first book that I saw, called The Persistence of Paradox, that's when I met him for the first time. Because I knew of him, but I had never met him. And then when I met him, I bought some of the books, and I got him to sign the books for me. And thereafter, I wrote a review of the book and published it in my column, Education Matters, in the Daily Graphic. For some reason, he got a copy in Paris. And since then, we became close friends. But I remember I called him once. I called him once, and I was a little depressed. And I didn't see where my life was going and so on. So I called him for advice. And he said, look, he called me by my last name, Hafa. He said, look, you have an obsession. He's talking to me now. You have an obsession. You write well. So put everything else aside and begin to write. Document your work so that for posterity, the work that we have done will show, just as he had done. But I'll tell you this. On the basis of that, I've written about 500 articles for the Daily Graphic. I've written about 3 books, and all that came from him. I was taking my life for granted, but he said, no, you can't do that. You are more important than that. But your importance has to be manifest in exactly what it is that you do. So as I sit here, because of him, I've written 500 columns, I've written 3 books and so on, and I really owe that success to him. So that for me, anytime, we have his bust at Mfanspim, and it was dedicated to him by a year group. And the plinth, right, he sought to make us greater than himself. So the message really to teachers, to educators is this: the people that you are teaching, don't teach them to be just like you, but you are here. Teach them to be greater than you. Now, on that note, that's how Kofi Annan was raised. Kofi Annan was raised by Headmaster Bartels. Oh. He used to ask him and his group to sit on the floor of his office to teach them English language, how to pronounce words and that sort of thing. And he also bring in visitors from outside because he wanted the Mfanspim students to stand on his shoulders. Okay. So that they can see a bigger world. And that bigger world is what made people like Saki and Kofi Annan.
Okay. This should be short. When is this being launched?
This is being launched July the 2nd. Okay. At the Wesley Towers.
Which is Wednesday.
Wednesday. And we start at 5 o'clock. Okay. But this is not just from Mfanspim Group. It's for every student who has passed through Cape Coast, University of Cape Coast, Legon, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and everyone who's aspiring to be a greater person than he is. Okay. So that is the idea. So we hope to see everybody, including you.
Okay, I'll be there. Thank you so
July
much.
the 2nd at Wesley Towers.
Anis Afa is an educationist, and MOBA 66. We had him here talk about this particular book. Let's meet today on Wednesday. We still have a lot coming your way here on the AM show. Let's have a conversation about a thriving industry that needs a lot more people to make it bigger. I'm talking about the hospitality industry. Now, the concerns of people who have played in this sector for some time is that a lot more people do turn up to be interviewed for employment, but they seem to lack some basic skills and knowledge of the sector. And so some great thing is being done. And I'm lucky to have in the studio with me a man who has really pioneered a brand of hotels that has become quite known across the country. And I'm sure you've heard about Palms by Eagles before. I mean, in Takoradi, we know them to be one giant there in Accra. They play a huge role. Mr. C.B. Asante is the CEO of Palms by Eagle. Chief, glad to have you in the studio. I also have here Chachu Mauko Choli. I hope I've mentioned the name right. He is a special project. He's in charge of special project Palms by Eagles. That's you, Mauko, great. And Cyril Asante is operations manager. Cyril, I hope you're well. Great. Okay, so let me start with you, Mr. C.B. Asante. Now, I know that you've been in this industry for quite some time. There's an issue about lack of, people with inadequate skills and, talent or knowledge of the industry. What is being done to ensure that we are able to correct this?
Thank you very much. That's an important question. And good morning to your listeners. Palms by Eagles entered the industry about 15 years ago. And what we've noticed is lack of skills, lack of proper avenue for hospitality professionals and aspiring hospitality professionals to be trained. There's a big gap in the market between what the industry wants, what the international industry is known to expect when they come here, and what we actually deliver. Today, Palms by Eagles is entering the educational sector of hospitality.
Okay.
And the whole idea is to train incoming hospitality professionals, those who want to enter hospitality, those who have had some hospitality training, and those who are in the industry. So Palms by Eagles, the vision is to use all our facilities, both in Accra and Takoradi, to offer this training using academic and professionals.
Oh, this will be hands-on then, because
yes,
directly from the classroom, there's an avenue where you can then do practical hands-on training.
Correct.
But aside that, okay, so the focus is to help equip people who have been trained in the sector. What is the expectation?
So the expectation is that, one, we can offer most of them jobs.
Okay.
Two, we'll train them for the industry, for the other hotels. And three, those in the other hotels will also come and learn and go back to work. Now, the big thing is getting practical experience. So you will be trained in a 4-star hotel or a 5-star hotel. You know how to handle guests in a 5-star hotel, and you have the practical experience. And then the big thing as well is the training will be done not by academics, but by hospitality professionals.
So when it comes to you, actually, your boss, Mr. Asante, has spoken about what he expects. But in terms of the kind of impact, what are you looking at?
I think basically there are, thematically, three main, I can think of three headline impacts. One is, skill development or upskilling of professionals in the industry. Hospitality, if well structured, can offer employment to a lot of our team youth who are employed at the moment. So that skill too is quite I mean, that effect it will have on the market is quite positive. Secondly, the vision is to be a center of excellence, not just in Ghana or West Africa, across and across Africa. And Ghana is well situated. I mean, we say we are home or gateway to Africa. When we have well-skilled and well-trained professionals in the hospitality space, I mean, repeat business. I mean, people coming in to experience Ghana will keep coming because they are handled with care. Customer service will go up. And the third thematic area, I think, will be basically employment. I mean, when they acquire the skills, they're able to build a career in the industry, and I think that is a positive thing that this school will bring. Okay,
let me come to Cyril, because he's a young man, just like myself. Now, this is captivating to hear that you are being trained by one of the best, which is Eagles, Palms by Eagles. We know by that and by your standard, the fees we can anticipate may be that up there. But will the training be subsidized in any way? Will there be scholarships so that a young man like yourself who doesn't have the means up to that level could also say, okay, I'll take advantage of this?
So what we plan to do is partner with other hotels and institutions where they will be able to offer scholarships to certain individuals who excel in the field of hospitality. And, obviously, as mentioned, we'll look at developing them as much as possible, preparing them for the real world.
I'm sure you have to speak up a bit for us. So for the start, no one should look at, okay, when you're coming, you have to come in prepared. But when you excel, there's some scholarships that could be made available to you. Is that it?
Yes, there will be some scholarships that will be made available to the students in order for them to further their career in the hospitality industry. It looks mainly at hotels, but it stretches across in everything that we do, in terms of welcoming guests to restaurants, to cafes, everything that we do focuses on hospitality. So this is like a real life experience, preparing them for the future, whatever field they might decide to go into.
Okay. Which means, okay, yeah.
I can answer that. Basically, the focus really is not a profit venture. This is not a profit venture. The focus is the impact on the industry. And so, yes, the fees are really subsidized, very affordable. And I think anyone seeking to upskill or acquire experience in the hospitality industry, this is the place you can start with. I mean, and those within the industry who are already practitioners in the industry, this is a place that they can retrain and retool themselves to acquire the world-class skills that is needed in these times.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I may add, in addition to what Cyril and Chachu have said, we will have subsidized, literally free classes for those who cannot afford.
Oh, okay.
So the plan is to actually equip people with skills to find jobs. Now, they don't have jobs, they don't have money. So how are they going to pay fees? They can't. So we will offer classes and courses free of charge at selected times, selected venue in Accra and in Takoradi within our facilities. Our experts in hospitality will train them for free.
Okay.
So you will leave having a certificate that equips you to go and look for a job. Then you will come back and hopefully pay something in future as you try to upgrade. Then we also want it to become an international to the extent of West Africa.
Okay.
So that we can have our colleagues from Nigeria and the Francophone countries coming here to study. Now they will pay, and therefore the school will have some money to offer free tuition for Ghanaians who cannot afford.
When is the school starting? You want to take it, Cyril?
So within the next quarter. We're planning for within the next
quarter. Okay, all right. I'm told something big is happening at 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh, yes. Tomorrow we're having a cocktail at the Palms by Eagles, Airport City, former Holiday Inn.
Oh, okay.
We are inviting industry players.
Meaning you've bought that one?
It's part of our
hotel?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Palms by Eagles.
Palms by Eagles, Airport City.
Okay.
Yes. So we've invited stakeholders in the hospitality industry to kind of launch the hospitality school 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and we're expecting the various general managers of hotels in Accra, officials from or executives from the Tourism Ministry, Ghana Tourism Authority, Ghana Tourism Federation, and many other interested stakeholders in the industry, yes.
So the school is known as the Palms by Eagles Hospitality School?
Eagles Hospitality School.
Eagles Hospitality School. Yes. Okay, all right. All right, grateful for coming by. But Mr. Asante, before I let you go, how has the industry been? I mean, I spoke to you in the height of COVID. How has it been after that?
Well, it's getting back to where we expect it to be. We are not out of the woods yet. The industry is facing a lot of challenges, as you might be aware. Cost is quite high, lack of skills, looking for capital is a big challenge. And lately, the appreciation of the cedi is having an impact on our revenue.
Oh.
So when you get $100, in the past it's 1,600, now it's 1,000 cedis or 1,100 cedis, but your cost is still high. So the industry is going through all these challenges, but I think we will sail through, just like we did during the COVID period. We'll go through.
Grateful to you, sir. Mr. C.B. Asante, CEO of Palms by Eagles. He also had Chachu Mauko Choli in charge of special project. Cyril Asante is the operations manager of Palms by Eagles. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming through the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, coming up next is Ghana Grows, Changing Narratives, brought to you by Mastercard Foundation in collaboration with Springboard Roadshow Foundation. And that's how we wrap up the AM show. After that will be the news desk.
Media University for Omoma Kwaya, Mimoba, SS4, JHS, Mimauba Sebrabisian BB, because I do my mission, Aboami Mebussia. The from Dina AJ, Aseda Foundation CEO, me yet me a beautician, no Western Region Takradi. Me started say me sua adwuma etiye e Takrade Tano Chrome. Me parents be say me so me go school. But me hu say me brothers ni bi wo fi a omo we school but omo nya adwuma. E bi kra university that na nya adwuma. Nti me imagine say me sua adwuma. And adwuma na me pe e ye etiye e na pedicure ne ade ne na me pe. Because me hu say no na me ti me sua metumi aboa afoforo. Nti me krasa me go school na me da ko sua adwuma. Nti me ko 8 o'clock na ma pon 3. Me ni school fo nyina pon pe. Until time me be wie adwuma. Ansa na me mo hu say me sua adwuma.
Time me hu say on go school no sua adwuma. Me ya. If you say na me pese da achin bia obey nurse ni.
Me wie adwuma no. And I'm say they na my parents he pen man yen na santi no em say omo ye disappointed in me. Me sorry me ye ma dey wi amakope baby atena me dwen kwan a mefa so a metumi aboa me ho. Nti na akoye areho ne adwendwen e di ama me until time me nene mu areho ne adwendwen ne empaibo ana me di konya asa kiosk kitikiti a edue bi si animu a e start edwuma no.
Me wi school no mu no na Mr. So decided on no hairdresser. Remember na omwa me na me so me hu hairdresser no so me ba mo me ba. In fact, Mrs. Tamam me ba no so no. Wa mama bro. Yes me dia me na so me free akọ me free anko. Me ni na nanam. Ye yi tre, ye bo tre, ye bibia o say ye.
Ono o share adwuma na se no. Wa niska. O eso we tre adwuma ni free. Ene nyankopọ adom. Baby a nyame de na duro no. Me a me de say odu osa.
In fact, why adwuma aboa Western Region, waboa o man Ghana, ama nkwala bebre nyansa ntuma
sisi edwuma biebiem salon na omoye
we school na emo aseda ne fenti me imagine say me hwe edwuma na me dey ahwe fenti me ba ante dan na ho and me ba nso anje me scratch me edwuma no ama sisi a me master me ne edwuma me nye ska edi boefi e dey hwe nkola na ne ade nyina.
Me started with kills and kills baby I need see no na me rent but a bread you money ko anymore no mato asase no Messi Sudan me were 8 classrooms training complex no ekowo at the same time me won kofo me ni omo ye adwuma me tu omo ka monthly and me were coordinators me mo ko kofa nkofo ba ni nyina me ana me ma omo ska omo de yes adi ni nyina no ana hwe me busia
me am sure that time be am we school be am ni na ma ono fa me no baby odi me bedu na there's no aboa me ama me busia mu sikasem de enya me problem yem and na me sister da na je so njimi
eze makoye pani meko mebo ni nyina ono a support me fi se me nya adwuma bia
me dey atoma kuma so say 5 years abeba be kan age ayenya ho no nyankopon man yenya center kese a nipa ne wie adwuma okwakotena 1 year no dey abie ne adwuma dwuma dia Ghana growth di no dwuma dia ebeboa ama afoforo nso ehunu say abrabo no start wo baby na wo di bedru baby a ebeboa
mega za my sister da na je nyame hwa no
in fact wa boy pa
senya no anka bai na anka me ni baby a me gina
na nyame asese nyame ache me hoba ye friend Dina
Ghana Growth Home Day.
Ghana Growth Hope Day.